Members, call the chamber back into order. If you want to find your way in here, we can get ready. We have a couple of standing committee reports. Reader, please, standing committee reports.
House Bill 56, sponsored by Representative Knapp, carbon capture mandate repeal and act relating to public utilities. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 9, Minerals, Business and Economic Development, to whom is referred House Bill 56, carbon capture mandate repeal. Respectfully report same back to the House with the recommendation do pass with the following amendments. Ayes, Representatives Campbell, Heiner, Knapp, Larson, Lawley, Riggins, Schmid, Tarver, Weber. Representative Heiner, Chairman. House Bill 78, sponsored by Water, Forest Health Grant Program, an act relating to state forestry. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 5, Agriculture, State and Public Lands and Water Resources, to whom is referred House Bill 78, Forest Health Grant Program. Respectfully report same back to the House with the recommendation that do pass. Ayes, Representatives Banks, Davis, Bornstrom, Johnson, Ottman, Provenza, Schmid, Strzok, Winter. Representative Winter, Chairman. This bill was re-referred to Committee number 2, Appropriations. Mr. Speaker, your Committee number 2, Appropriations, to whom is referred House Bill 78, Forest Health Grant Program. Respectfully report same back to the House with the recommendation that do pass. Ayes, Representatives Alaman, Angelos, Bear, Haroldson, Pendergraph, Sherwood, Smith. Representative Bear, Chairman.
Thank you, Reading Clerk. Are there any other things that we need to address? That clears the desk. Okay. Mr. Majority Floor Leader. He evaporated. Here he comes. I kind of need you to resolve something for us.
Mr. Speaker, I humbly apologize.
You're
I thought
good.
I was done for the day. Mr. Speaker, I move that we resolve into the committee of the whole.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. Motion carries. Welcome, Representative Rodriguez Williams.
The committee of the whole will please come to order. The first bill for our consideration is House Bill 32, English Proficiency Commercial Motor Vehicle Drivers. The reading clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 32, sponsored by Transportation, English Proficiency, Commercial Motor Vehicle Drivers, an act relating to motor vehicles. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 8, Transportation, Highways and Military Affairs, to whom is referred House Bill 32, English Proficiency, Commercial Motor Vehicle Drivers, respectfully report same back to the House with the recommendation that do pass with the following amendments. Ayes, Representatives Banks, Brown, Geringer, Larson, McCann, Nicholas, Posey, Tarver, Wiley. Representative Brown, Chairman.
You have heard the motion, or you have heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Chairman Brown?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report it, do so with the recommendation that House Bill 32 do pass. I further move the adoption of the Standing Committee Amendment, and I will turn the explanation of the bill over to my good representative from the western side of the state.
Thank
Representative McCann.
thank you, Madam Speaker. This is a pretty simple bill. It's kind of a trigger from all the accidents that we've been having with the truckers that don't have their English proficiency. And we did go through this with the Highway Patrol, and they actually had a lot of this in place already as far as testing. They do have roadside testing where they can pull someone over, or if they're pulled over, they can test them, make sure they are understanding of the English language. If not, they can't take out of service the truck, but they can take out of service the truck driver. And then if he's caught a second time, there's a criminal penalty, or at least a financial penalty. Going through the bill, just some definitions about proficiency in the English language. On page 2, B, operator commercial vehicle shall operate commercial vehicle within the state of, if the operator is unable to demonstrate proficiency in the English language. Any operator of the commercial vehicle who violates this subsection will be fined $1,000 and shall be prohibited from operating commercial vehicle within the state until the operator is able to demonstrate proficiency in the English language. And that's pretty much the meat of the bill. And I would appreciate an aye. Oh,
Representative McCann, if you could move the amendment.
is there a standing committee? I'd like to move standing committee.
Just explain what we did. We just moved it to.
Oh, okay. The amendment mainly just, we moved it from an effective date of January 1st to immediately if passed. Apologies.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Representative Chestick.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm just curious as to the reason for the effect of the amendment. I don't know, most times when we create new penalties or new obligations, we at least give the people an opportunity to learn about the law and find out about it. And so the effective date of July 1st is typical. What is the hurry and why do we need to have it effective immediately?
Representative Wiley.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. You know, going through, working this with the department of the folks that patrol our highways and stuff, it is very similar to the driving tests and stuff that we have now. It's nothing out of the ordinary. It's something that's very common knowledge. I don't believe there's a too much of a large step to just go right into enacting it now.
Representative McCann.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To answer the good question, we're basically just marrying up this law, the state law up with the federal law, making it congruent. And after that, I hope you guys say aye. Thanks.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, are you ready for the question? Question being called. All those in favor of Standing Committee Amendment number 1, say aye. All opposed? The Standing Committee Amendment number 1 has been adopted. We're back on the bill. Discussion on the bill. Representative Lean.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just a question, is there any kind of provision that stops them from pulling them over to make sure that they do speak English? Or is this just a secondary, if they get pulled over for a violation, we're going to verify they can comprehend English?
Chairman Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So that's a good question. And the answer, short and long of the answer is, when you have a CDL, you can be pulled over and have, you know, inspection logs, stuff like that done. So to answer your question directly is, could somebody look at that and profile them and say, hey, they look like they don't speak English? I don't think that's probably going to stand up in court. I don't know for sure, but I wouldn't suspect so. However, CDL drivers are constantly pulled over, checked for weight limits, all those types of things on a regular basis. And this would be something in which they would be able to then say, hey, can you read this sign? Can you make sure that you explain this? And they gave us a sign of what they're looking for. They have a little laminated sheet that goes over speed limit signs and everything like that. Basically what we do when we're 15 or 16 years old to get our driver's license. That's how they determine if they have proficiency in the English language on the roadside. And then they also have 15 to 16 questions that they can ask them that are just very brief and very, very easy to answer in the English language as well.
Further discussion on the bill? Seeing none. We've got Representative Brady coming up. Representative Brady.
Thank you, Speaker. If the bringer of the bill would just help me, what happens at the ports of entry? Is there any kind of, check there or any reporting from that perspective?
Chairman Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So this would be enforceable at the port of entry, just like it would be out on the side of the road as well. If they cannot demonstrate the English language, the driver could be put out of service. That's what subsection A states. And then they would be fined $1,000. And then if they're found to be doing this a second time and they're operating in our state without being able to show their proficiency in the English language, then its secondary offense would actually be potential imprisonment and another $1,000 fine.
Further discussion on the bill? Seeing none, are you ready for the question? Question being called. All those in favor of Chairman Brown's motion that when the committee of the whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that House Bill 32 do pass. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. House Bill 32 has passed committee of the whole. The next bill for our consideration, we have a privilege of the floor, it looks like. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Today we have with us up in the gallery members of this year's Leadership Wyoming class. They come to us with curiosity and a passion for the state to watch our work, to learn and to serve. Please join me in welcoming our Leadership Wyoming group.
Welcome to the House. Okay.
Madam Chairman, Chairwoman, privilege of the floor, Madam Chairwoman. Hi, over here. Hi.
Representative Wiley, you have a privilege.
Privilege of the floor. Thank you.
Please.
I would also, we have a lot of folks from home and leaders coming from our communities. I'd like to introduce the Mayor of Green River. Mayor Rust.
Representative Bear, privilege of the floor. Okay. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 34, Firefighters Retirement Plan. The reading clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 34, sponsored by Appropriations, Firefighters Retirement Plans, an act relating to compensation and benefits. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 2, Appropriations, to whom is referred House Bill 34, Firefighters Retirement Plans, respectfully report, same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass with the following amendments. Ayes, Representatives Alaman, Angelos, Bear, Haroldson, Pendergraft, Sherwood, Smith. Representative Pendergraft, Vice Chairman.
You have heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Chairman Bear?
Madam Chairman, I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so with the recommendation that House Bill 34 do pass. And I further move that the adoption of the Standing Committee amendment, and I will pass the explanation over to our good representative from the city over the Western Hill from here, who represents the northern part of that county.
Representative Sherwood.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is House Bill 34, Firefighters Retirement Plans. I'll speak to the amendment first and then to the bill. So the amendment is a correction that adds 4 full-time seasonal, 9-month full-time Helitac employees to the Guard Firefighter Retirement Plan. In working the bill throughout the committee, we wanted to clarify that the retirement plan would be available to both full-time year-round state forestry employees and full-time seasonal who may be working 9 months throughout the fire season. We adjusted the fiscal note accordingly to account for those 4 additional positions being added to this retirement plan. And now I'll move into the bill. And you'll see that there is a suite of bills in front of you. Oh, and the handout. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On your desk, there is a legal handout. If I was more prepared and I could Vanna White for you guys, you will see on the handout. Thank you. Thanks for Vanna in the audience. Oh, you guys are so sweet. I love you. This shows you a comparison of where Wyoming stands in relation to benefits that the federal agencies who fight fires and our Western neighbors, how they treat their wildland firefighters. So you'll see when it comes to both hazard pay, paid leave after firefighter assignment, and then this bill in particular, the retirement plan, that Wyoming is not competitive with our neighbors. And we don't like that. We don't like losing our hardworking men and women who serve us to other states or other agencies. So we have a solution for you. So the suite of bills addresses recruitment, retention, and resources for these men and women who put their lives on the line fighting our fires. Because again, our benefits you'll see from this handout are not competitive. We are losing our good employees. This bill in particular moves the forest firefighters from the state's public retirement plan to state plans that are specifically designed for hazardous public safety occupation. Benefits in these plans recognize the dangers of the job. The benefit of this is by adding new employees to the plan, it will increase contribution and help the plan get to 100% funded sooner. There is flexibility though. If there's a current employee who's on the state plan, they may elect to stay on that. And they can also move to one of these law enforcement pension plans or the Guard firefighter pension plans. And with that, I will take any questions that you might have, and I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, Representative Sherwood. You've heard the motion on Standing Committee Amendment number 1. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Okay, seeing none. Question being called. All those in favor of Standing Committee Amendment number 1 by a voice vote, state aye. All opposed? Okay, the Standing Committee Amendment number 1 has been adopted. We're back on the bill. Discussion on the bill. Question being called. All those in favor of Chairman Bear's motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that House Bill 34 do pass. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. Okay, House Bill 34 has passed Committee of the Whole. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 35. The reading clerk will now read the bill.
House Bill 35, sponsored by Appropriations, Firefighters, Paid Leave, and Hazard Pay, an act relating to the Office of State Lands and Investments. Mr. Speaker, your Committee number 2, Appropriations, to whom is referred House Bill 35, Firefighters, Paid Leave, and Hazard Pay, respectfully report same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes. Ayes. Alamand, Angelos, Bear, Haroldson, Pendergraph, Sherwood, Smith. Representative Pendergraph, Vice Chairman.
You have heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Chairman Bear?
Madam Chairman, I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so with the recommendation that House Bill 35 do pass, and I further move the adoption of the Standing Committee amendment. And I will turn the description of the bill over to the good representative from the land where our most beautiful irrigated cornfields reside.
Representative Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Before you, we have House Bill 35, and in essence, this is another leg of the suite of bills that you just heard just before this one. In essence, this one is authorizing firefighters to receive hazard pay and paid time off. This specifically, one of the things that stuck out to me during our interim is the training to get certified for all of this is about a 4-year process. And once the state trains all of these different certifications, they end up going to work for the federal side of things. And so we lose a lot of our good state employees because the benefits are better, the hazard pay, and so forth. And so one of the things that in order to oversee, you'll see in page 1, line 10, it talks about correctional forestry crew supervisors, correctional crew supervisors, and correctional forestry crew managers in order to supervise inmates in order to help clear fuel lines and things like that. It's 4 years of certification. So I'm just wondering, are you going to do the amendment or should I move the amendment? Okay. All right. So we do have one amendment that we'll present.
Representative Haroldson.
Thank you, Mrs. Chairwoman. At this time, I move Committee of the Whole Amendment number 1 to House Bill number 35 and ask for your favorable consideration. Ladies and gentlemen, as we were looking at this bill, one of the things that we noticed is inside of this bill, there was language attached to the federal standard. And the concern we had is we didn't want it to be a situation where the federal government changed that standard for time off as well as hazard pay, and then kind of brought the state of Wyoming along in tow, where we wanted to separate it out where this would be a decision by state forestry. And so this amendment just basically gives us that separation where we're not tied directly into the federal's actions, but those federal actions will then bring up conversation on where we should go with our standard. And what this is currently when a firefighter has been on duty for 14 days to get 2 paid days off, that's federal, or 3 days paid off, that's federal standard. And then the idea of what is hazard pay is anytime that a firefighter is into an active fire situation where they are fighting fire in an active sense, that is considered a hazard pay. And so this amendment would just make sure that we separate our involvement with the federal government in a way that if they make a change, say 5 days off after 14, we then have to revisit that conversation. It doesn't just happen automatically. And with that, I'd ask for your favorable consideration and stand for any questions.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, are you ready for the question? Question having been called, all those in favor of Committee of the Whole Amendment number 1, say aye. All opposed, no. Committee of the Whole Amendment number 1 has been adopted. We're back on the bill. Discussion on the bill.
Question.
Question being called. All those in favor of Chairman Bear's motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that House Bill 35 do pass. All those in favor state aye. All those opposed, no. House Bill 35 has passed Committee of the Whole. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 36. The reading clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 36, sponsored by Appropriations. Forestry Conservation Program Wildland Fire Module, an act relating to the state forester. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 2, Appropriations, to whom is referred House Bill 36, Forestry Conservation Program Wildland Fire Module. Respectfully report same back to the House with the recommendation that do pass with the following amendments. Ayes, Representatives Alaman, Angelos, Bear, Haroldson, Pendergraft, Sherwood, Smith. Representative Pendergraft, Vice Chairman.
You've heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Chairman Bear?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I move that when the committee of the whole rises to report it, do so with the recommendation that House Bill 36 do pass. And I further move the adoption of the standing committee amendments. And I pass the description of the bill over to the good representative that is our Speaker Pro Tem.
Representative Haroldson.
Thank you, Mrs. Chairwoman. So first of all, we'll talk about the amendment. The amendment is a very simple one. We just had a bit of a discrepancy in the main title. So the main title of the bill is Forestry Conservation Program Wildland Fire Module. And the amendment would simply state, it would eliminate that conservation program and insert division. So it's just to align with statute. And so I believe it's a really simple, obviously it doesn't change anything in the bill, just make sure that we align with how we are drafting our legislation. So would stand for any questions on the amendment, and then we could get on to the bill.
Thank you. Any questions on the amendment? Any discussion on the amendment?
Question?
Okay, seeing none. Question having been called. All those in favor of Standing Committee Amendment number 1, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Standing Committee Amendment number 1 has been adopted. We're back on the bill. Representative Haroldson.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on to the bill. This last year, Appropriations had the opportunity to look into firefighting and wildland firefighting in specifically. And what we had is a conversation moving forward of how do we prevent these large catastrophe wildfires from happening. Some of you guys remember last year we went and we brought forth another seats crew. I think it was actually a heli crew. We have our seats, we have our lats, that's all of our air support. We have our smoke busters, and we're going to talk a little bit more about them in just a little bit. But we actually said we are really desperately in need of a module that could come in and do that mop-up work on fires. And so what this is a module program where we would put together a wildland fire module that would go out and be able to work directly on the fires we have in this state. So what we're finding is this, volunteer fire departments across our country, but especially our state, are seeing a decline in volunteers. And so what happens is a lot of these volunteers, they are moms and dads and they have jobs, and after about 72 hours, they don't have any more hours. They've got to get back to their lives. And what we find is a lot of these fires past that 72-hour window, we need help from a professional crew to come in and help mop these fires up or continue to fight them. And so this wildland fire module would be that. So what does it consist of? It's 12 total employees. 2 are full-time employees. 2 are 9-month temporary full-time employees, and 8 of them are 6-month temporary full-time employees. That this would apply to putting a team on the ground for basically a majority of our fire season. Now, you guys may realize, may not realize that we are currently fighting fires in the state of Wyoming. We have had over 80 fires this year already, and we're in the 2nd month. We've got snowpacks at an all-time low. We're seeing a major problem. And so what this would do is just give another tool in the toolbox of putting a ground team, a professional ground team on these fires and trying to keep them from running away. And with that, I'd stand for any questions on the bill.
Thank you, Representative Haroldson. Discussion on the bill. Chairman Braun.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So I wanted to get up on the last bill, and I was busy running around whipping votes for another amendment on another bill, and I apologize about that. But I noticed that the past bill and this bill here, neither one of them line up in our green books. And so these are going to be session law as they come in. And so my first question and leading into the second question is, why session law and why not the budget? Is this not something that we're expecting to see in perpetuity? And if it was something that we had planned on seeing in perpetuity, why didn't we see this in the budget as opposed to individual bills as they're moving forward? These types of decisions of adding, permanent positions and funding like that, we typically see that kind of stuff come in on the budget. So I'm just kind of curious why we didn't do it that way.
Chairman Bear?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Just quickly to answer that question, this is in the budget. So you're going to see this module in the budget as well for the funding of it. As far as getting it into statute, this is just trying to get it lined out how we want to do it, the full-time employees, what their responsibilities are. Having all this language in the budget, we didn't feel was appropriate, so we wanted the body to have an opportunity to discuss it, understand the module. The chief executive had recommended 2 of these modules. We went with 1 in the budget. And so we wanted you to understand what it is that we're talking about when we do that. So that's what this bill is about, is really preparing both the forester, the SLIB board, and this body to understand exactly what we're getting into.
Any further discussion on the bill? Chairman Brown?
Thank you very much. So I just want to make sure I'm clear on this. So the one that is approved inside of the budget, there's a line item in there, and the same amount of funding that we see in this bill is lined up in there as well. And then, so if we were to pass this bill on committee of the whole, it's not going to show up on the goldenrod as a different line item and adding to that budget. I just want to make sure I'm good on that.
Representative Harrelson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairwoman. Yes, so that is absolutely correct. So if this passes through, we will see it shed off and vice versa on the funding wise, as far as there's only going to be one funding going through. It will not show up on the goldenrod. One of the things that we needed to do is we wanted this baked in though. We wanted this module to be a part of state forestry, not just to be a budget footnote that may or may not get brought into the future, especially as we're bringing in these people that need trained, as we're looking at how to house them, how to get the equipment for them. If for some reason that budget footnote isn't continued into the future and it isn't baked into the actual state forestry's budget, we could see that disappear and lose the ground that we've gained. And talking about the number of modules, the concept here is we want to play with this idea of having these ground crews, state ran ground crews in the state of Wyoming, and that number we need to talk about. But I think this is giving us that opportunity to kind of build the substructure, so as we move forward, we can see the reality of this being a part of the arsenal we have in the state.
Further discussion on the bill? Okay. Question having been called, all those in favor of Chairman Bear's motion that when the committee of the whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that House Bill 36 does pass. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. House Bill 36 has passed committee of the whole. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 45. The reading clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 45, sponsored by Revenue, long-term homeowners tax exemption revisions. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 3 Revenue, to whom is referred House Bill 45, long-term homeowner tax exemption revisions, respectfully report same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass with the following amendments. Ayes, Representatives Brown, Campbell, Lean, Locke, Lucas, Riggins, Stivar. Conflict, Representatives Storer and Wharf. Representative Locke, Chairman.
You've heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Chairman Locke?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that when the committee of the whole rises to report, it do so with the recommendation that House Bill 45 do pass, and I further move the adoption of the standing committee amendments. I yield the floor to Representative Lean for the explanation of the bill and the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Lean.
Thank you, Ms. Speaker. In this bill, what we're trying to do today from the Revenue Committee is it changes the application date from the 4th Monday in May to March 1st to add some uniformity to the tax calendar. It allows for the applicant to be able to renew by phone, and it repeals the sunset date. I move Standing Committee Amendment number 1 to House Bill 45 I will now explain the amendment. This amendment allows for an exemption of the first 3 million of fair market value, and it takes care of the exemption following the person instead of the property, so that if somebody chooses to downsize while they're in the state of Wyoming, or they move from one side of the state to the other, that exemption is able to follow them when they purchase their new home and does not reside with their old home.
Thank you. Representative Lean, is there any discussion on the amendment? Chairman Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I kind of like the second portion of this. I don't kind of like, I actually think that's really good. My biggest concern is whether or not, as I'm looking at this amendment, I struggle to find out, we introduced this bill saying, hey, this is going to be just updating it so when when people ask for this particular exemption, it's going to be a little bit easier to come in and do it. Now this amendment has completely changed what we're trying to do with this bill. And to be honest with you, I don't want to call it out on day one of committee of the whole, but I think this is well outside of the scope of the original intent of the bill. And I would say that it's probably not, subject for what we're supposed to be doing with this. But I want the body to think very carefully on what we're doing with the top portion of this amendment. And if I had this written down, I was starting to do this, I would divide the amendment and ask you to vote no on this portion. And I think I may get that chance if I have a chance to sit back down and scribble lines. But this is a big change and a big policy shift from what we were originally trying to do. So if I can get some understanding of what the committee discussion looked like and why we changed this now from being just a date change and how somebody can apply for this to now being, we're going to change this to fair market value as opposed to assessed value, and now $3 million as opposed to the $1 million. I feel like we kind of got a bait and switch here.
Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And actually, thank you for that question, because that is probably a good question for clarification. So the way this bill was first done, there was no cap on it. And as many of you recall, and so I'm sorry, I'm going to talk a little bit to the bill just to give clarification to the amendment, because that might help. And hopefully I'm not stretching the rules. But at the end of the day, as you recall, this bill was originally the long-term homeowner exemption, where the long-term homeowner, if they lived in their home for 8 months out of the year, they were given a 50% exemption. And so really what this exemption does, there was no original cap, to answer the previous question. There was no original cap. That just came up in this amendment. So moving to the amendment, that $3 million cap was proposed as a component of this. Now, keep in mind that this bill's goal is to remove the sunset on this bill. So I'm just want to make sure that's clear. And if I have been confusing, I apologize. And then the other amendments in here were simply, the original intent of the bill was for this to follow the homeowner, not the house. And the way it was worded, it created confusion. So part of this amendment is to make sure two things. Try to make it to where it follows the owner. And then we have seen a scenario where if a person sold their house 3 months before the end of the year and then went to apply for this, they would not qualify. So the second kind of major portion of this amendment was try to make sure that if you lived in a house in this state for the year before, but you sold your house, we were trying to avoid that situation where a person who has a long-term homeowner here, they've paid for their property taxes for 25 years. We wanted to remove that confusion and say, if you've lived in a house, you sold your house, and you moved into a new house, you still qualify as a long-term owner-occupied homeowner in this state. So please, if I did not explain that well, I welcome your questions. Thank you.
Further discussion on the amendment? Representative Byron.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I would, on the amendment, love to hear anyone in the committee during the discussion with this amendment that clearly came pretty late in the game. why we picked 3 million. We've lobbied this number back and forth a lot over the last 3 years on different exemptions and different property tax bills. But if anyone on the committee wants to enlighten me on why we landed on 3 million, that applies to very few of your districts, but it certainly applies to mine. So I'd love to be educated on that.
Representative Storr?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To answer the question posed to the body, this was an amendment I brought to the committee because I asked the committee what our purpose was behind the long-term homeowners exemption. And they reminded me that the idea was really to help people who are on lower incomes, fixed incomes. And we can see now that a number of people actually are qualifying for the long-term homeowners and getting a $10 million exemption on a $20 million house. I think there's some language we might want to bring in second reading also that will clarify that you really do have to have lived in the state for 25 years in your principal home in order to qualify. That I think is a cleanup that we could look at. But I picked 3 million because a $3 million house in Teton County is really comparable to an average home everywhere else. And we are looking at, in many cases, long-term homeowners who probably bought their house 25 years ago for $100,000, and now that's what its value is. And those are the people we are really trying to help with this bill by giving them a break. So that's the reason for the number. Thank you.
Further discussion on the amendment, Representative Hirschman.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I had a sidebar conversation with the good chairman of transportation, and his question really on the amendment is, why was the language changed? You can see the strikeout on fair market value, and then it goes to assessed value. And I believe that has to be because the original exemption is 50%. But if you're going to put a cap on, you have to, it can't be 3 million assessed value. It has to be fair market value. So you have to somehow, it's going to work out the same. There's not any funny business going on with that. It's just when you put a cap in, we got to say what that fair market value is. I mean, we could run the mill levy and figure it out, but it's going to be different in every county. So I think that's why the change in that language. So thank you. And I appreciate the committee's work on this. And I appreciate you bringing this bill to keep this exemption going. This is one of the best reforms we passed, and many states do this. And it was unfortunate we put a sunset on it. So I'm glad we're correcting that mistake. So I look forward to your support of the amendment and the bill. Thank you.
Further discussion on the standing committee amendment, Representative Lawley.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I wanted to address some questions I have about the good Chairman of Revenue's comments about when people move or downsize or move to another part of our state. My understanding of the original bill is that it covers anywhere you are in Wyoming or have lived in Wyoming for that number of years. So I'm kind of trying to understand why we needed something extra at this point for people to continue to claim the exemption, because I think it's the way the exemption's written. You don't have to stay in the same home. You don't have to have the same size home. You just, you get the exemption. So can you help me understand why that language was necessary? Thanks.
Chairman Brown.
Thank you. So this is actually the reason I can answer that, and it's just because I just happened to have this happen to me over the past 12 months. Went through some personal issues and I moved to a different location. And when you go to apply for this homeowner's exemption online, you have to certify that you've been in that house for at least 8 months. Well, when I bought my house in July, I wasn't going to be in that house for 8 months. So therefore I can't claim that exemption. But I think what the committee was trying to get to on this is, hey, look, I've been paying taxes at my other residence as well. It's just that this particular residence I'm not paying out for 8 months, so I don't get that exemption any longer. So I actually really like that part of the amendment, and I appreciate the clarification as well from the longest serving member here in the House. on the assessed and fair market value discussion as well. But I like that second portion of the amendment because what that does is it allows somebody to move and still claim that exemption as long as they've been paying taxes here in the state of Wyoming.
Chairman Locke?
And thank you, Mr. Chairman, for that clarification, because you are one of many examples where we've had this occur. Again, it was language that I don't think we made clear. And so this was an attempt to clarify, as the good chairman mentioned, he was still living in Wyoming. He just changed houses. So literally the way the verbiage was in the original bill, it did not make that clear. And this will just clear that up. But thank you so much.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, question being called. All those in favor of Standing Committee Amendment number 1, state aye. All opposed, no. The Standing Committee Amendment number 1 has been adopted. We're back on the bill. Discussion on the bill. Representative.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Folks, the sunset on this bill was designed to have us better understand what we had going on. It was one of the best sunsets the previous Revenue Committee ran. I think we have a real, true example in each one of our districts. We've talked to folks that this bill is really good for, and they were pretty nervous this last year when I brought a bill in the last session about this getting rid of the sunset. So I think it really clears it up. I appreciate the Revenue Committee's good work on this to get rid of the sunset and the additions that have been clarified now, and I appreciate it. I vote.
Further discussion on the bill, Representative Yen.
Mr. Chairman, Madam Chairman, thank you. Appreciate the discussion on the provenance of the sunset. I might look into that. But I do think that it is a good thing that we actually looked after it. I agree with the good chairman of TRW. We understand the results and we know that it is a good thing that we provide this. And I think the addition of the $3 million is a great addition as well. So I'm an aye vote. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Any further discussion on the bill? Representative Nicholas. No. Okay. Representative Lean.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to talk to a moment to being able to certify this by phone. You still have to go in and do your initial application with the county assessor, and they still have to verify that you've paid your 25 years. It's just the reapplication of every year thereafter that you can then certify by phone. So I ask for your aye vote today.
Any further discussion on the bill? Seeing none. Are you ready for the question? Question being called. All those in favor of Chairman Locke's motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that House Bill 45 does pass. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. House Bill 45 has passed Committee of the Whole. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 85. The reading clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 85, sponsored by Management Audit, Post-Election Audit Procedures, an act relating to elections. Mr. Speaker, your Committee number 5, Agriculture, State, and Public Lands and Water Resources, to whom is referred House Bill 85, Post-Election Audit Procedures, respectfully report same back to the House with the recommendation do pass with the following amendments. Ayes, Representatives Banks, Davis, Fornstrom, Johnson, Ottman, Provenza, Schmid, Strock, Winter. Representative Winter, Chairman.
You have heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Chairman Banks?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so with a recommendation that House Bill 85 do pass. I further move the adoption of the Standing Committee Amendment. That amendment is just a tweak. Title 21 was incorrectly referenced in the bill. It should be Title 22. So that's all that the Standing Committee Amendment does. And if there's any further questions on that amendment.
Is there any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, question being called. All those in favor of Standing Committee Amendment number 1, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Standing Committee Amendment number 1 has been adopted. We're back on the bill. Chairman Banks.
Thank you. And for the explanation of the bill, I'll turn it over to the representative from Natrona County.
Representative Lean.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill just gives us additional oversight when it comes to post-audit election ballot certifications. In this bill, you'll see that we have given the county clerk the authority to have additional oversight when she is conducting the post-election audit, which goes to the secretary, which goes to the good executive that oversees our elections. There's an oath of office to be taken while they're certifying these votes, and it's just really for election transparency.
Thank you, Representative Lean. Discussion on the bill. Discussion on the bill. Seeing none, the question being called. All those in favor of Vice Chairman Banks' motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that House Bill 85 do pass. All those in favor state aye. All opposed, no. House Bill 85 has passed Committee of the Whole. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 86. The reading clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 86, sponsored by Management Audit. Removal of county officers, election code violations, an act relating to county officers. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 5, Agriculture, State and Public Lands and Water Resources, to whom is referred House Bill 86, removal of county officers, election code violations. Respectfully report same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Representatives Banks, Johnson, Ottman, Schmid, Strzok, Winter. Noes, Representatives Davis, Fornstrom, Provenza. Representative Winter, Chairman.
You've heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Vice Chairman Banks?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so with the recommendation that House Bill 86 do pass. And she's doing such a great job. I'll again turn it over to the representative from Natrona County.
Thank you. Representative Lean.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On this bill, we just give the authority. There's a cleanup change on page 2, line 2. Instead of he, it says the governor. And then we just give the authority for a person filing a verified complaint goes to the governor. And then we expand, instead of being an elector from just a county, that it could be a board of county commissioners or within the Secretary of State's office. And then it is all still given to the governor. So the executive does have the final authority.
Thank you, Representative Lean. Discussion on the bill. Discussion on the bill. Seeing none, question being called. All those in favor of Vice Chairman Banks' motion that when Committee of the Whole rises to report, it does so that the recommendation of House Bill 86 do pass. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. House Bill 86 has passed Committee of the Whole. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 105. The reading clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 105, sponsored by Appropriations. K through 12 School Facilities Appropriations 2, an act relating to school buildings and facilities. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 2 Appropriations, to whom is referred House Bill 105, K through 12 School Facilities Appropriations 2. Respectfully report same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass with the following amendments. Ayes, Representatives Alaman, Angelos, Bear, Haroldson, Pendergraft, Sherwood, Smith. Representative Bear, Chairman.
You've heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Chairman Bear?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so with a recommendation that House Bill 105 do pass, and I further move the adoption of the Standing Committee Amendment. I pass the explanation of the bill over to the good representative from Coal Country.
Representative Angelos.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Today, committee, I have House Bill 105, and I do have a standing committee amendment. Do you want me to run that first? Thank you. So I'm going to move standing committee amendment number 1 to House Bill 105, and I'm going to explain. On page 12, you will see this is some inflationary cost adjustment on a the transportation facility in Campbell County, and actually it's a decrease of funds. So you will see that there was $7,420,000 originally put into the bill. We've gone back with the state construction department, had discussion with them, had discussion with the district, and it looks like that there's some funds left over from other construction projects, which is common with CapCon. And so the need for that inflationary adjustment is only $2,650,000. So we're going to decrease that amount. This also adds $5 million. We had originally approved $2 million, went back and forth with the department. We will add $5 million in for the safety and security grant. That's also in there. So with that, I would stand for any questions.
Thank you, Representative Angelos. Any questions on the amendment? Any question being called? All those in favor of Standing Committee Amendment number 1, say aye. All opposed, no. Standing Committee Amendment number 1 has been adopted. We're back on the bill. Representative Angelos.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So what this bill does is this bill does 3 things. This is your K-12 capital construction for the next biennium. If you flip through, you will see many projects in your own communities. This also establishes, as I had said in the amendment, the grant program for school safety and security. This is kind of a refunding of a program that they've used for well over 10 years, and it's needing an update on funding for those districts to apply for a grant for balusters, vestibules. We have a bunch of those all over the state. Being a grant program, there won't be a concern. It will be more applied instead of given by ADM, which it will protect our smaller districts. And number 3, this also includes the major maintenance for the districts as well. That's normally in the budget bill. That is pulled out like we did last year, and it's similar to the CapCom bill that you heard the other day. And I will stand for any questions.
Thank you. Questions on the bill? Okay, are you ready for the question? Question being called. All those in favor of Chairman Bear's motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, does so with the recommendation that House Bill 105 do pass. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. House Bill 105 has passed Committee of the Whole. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 106. The reading clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 106, sponsored by Appropriations. Smoke buster module leaders. An act relating to the state forester. Mr. Speaker, your Committee number 2 Appropriations, to whom's referred House Bill 106, Smoke Buster Module Leaders, respectfully report, same back to the House with the recommendation that do pass. Ayes, Representatives Alaman, Angelos, Bear, Haroldson, Pendergraft, Sherwood, Smith. Representative Pendergraft, Vice Chair.
You've heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Chairman Bear?
Madam Chairman, I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so with recommendation that Bill number 106 do pass. And I will pass the explanation over to the good representative where the amber waves of grain are seen in Wyoming.
Thank you. Representative Haroldson.
Thank you very much. So the Smoke Buster Module Leader Bill, what it does is it adds 2 new module leaders into our Smoke Buster program. And if you're wondering what our Smoke Buster program is, this is a joint effort between State Forestry, OSLI, and Department of Corrections. And it is an opportunity to do an inmate hand crew for firefighting purposes. In 2020, when COVID hit, we saw the hand crews basically dissolve because of the COVID pandemic. And then what happened is when they came back, instead of having 2, one in Riverton, one in Newcastle, we came back with one in Newcastle. The struggle that we have is not only these firefighters, they're also correctional officers. And so there's a large amount of training that is required. And where we're currently sitting with our Smoke Buster crew is they only have one individual capable of bringing the crew out onto fires. And if that individual, say, gets sick, has a family emergency, or simply needs some time off,
the smoke buster crew is grounded. So what this would do is it would give us the opportunity to bring more module leaders in, or not module leaders, but smoke buster module leaders in. And these individuals would be hired one this year and one next year. So we slide them in kind of a metered approach with the intention of building depth and bench. And then the second aspect is ultimately in time building a second smoke buster crew. But first we need to get our guys and gals trained up so that they're capable of handling this task. And if you're at all with the wildland crews, the wildland firefighting crews, when this smoke buster crew shows up, it's a good day because they do a phenomenal job, and we're truly impressed with what they accomplish and what they do for the state. So this would be an opportunity for 2 FTEs, one this year, one next year, as well as $499,000 for the purpose of the equipment as well as the funding of these FTEs. And so ask for your favorable consideration and your vote.
Thank you. Discussion on the bill. Question being called. All those in favor of Chairman Bear's motion that when the committee of the whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that House Bill 106 do pass. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. House Bill 106 has passed the committee of the whole. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 107. The reading clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 107, sponsored by Appropriations. Local Government Distributions, an act relating to local government funding. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 2, Appropriations, to whom is referred House Bill 107, Local Government Distributions, respectfully reports same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes. Representatives Alaman, Angelos, Bear, Haroldson, Pendergraft, Sherwood, Smith. Representative Bear, Chairman.
You have heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Chairman Bear?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I move that when the committee of the whole rises to report, it do so with recommendation that House Bill 107 do pass, and I will pass the explanation of the bill over to the good representative where that corn grows so nicely.
Representative Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Before you, you have House Bill 107, and it is a fascinating study over the interim. This basically codifies into law the local government distributions and the formula under which distributions are calculated beginning in fiscal year 2027. This bill also replaces the current legislatively determined appropriation with a dedicated transfer equal to 5.6% of the prior year's statewide sales and use tax revenue. And funds would flow from the general fund to the OSLI for allocation, requiring local governments to estimate expected revenues while creating their budgets. Having that percentage basically makes the distributions inflation proof. And this bill also matches calculations timing for sales and use taxes to the new funding mechanism by using sales and use tax data from immediately preceding fiscal year, replacing the 2-year delay used in the current iteration. And this also changes the date of the distribution of payments to cities and towns. And you can see that on page 4, line 4. And basically, instead of getting the distribution in August, it moves to January, and from October to March. And so I think this bill takes a lot of politics out of the different sessions where we fight and debate the local distribution just about every single time. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Representative Smith. Discussion on the bill. Representative Yen.
Madam Chairman, thank you. Members, I would ask you, one, to consider, this bill is much bigger than it usually is. And again, as the members of Appropriations have said, we're kind of enshrining a formula in place, and so that local governments don't have to fight for their local distribution every 2 years, because that's basically what we were making them do every 2 years. But if we want to, but that's why we need to actually make sure that the formula is correct. Because if we're enshrining a formula for long term, we want to make sure we get it really, really right this time, and not either short shrift or overspend or whatever your perspective is on local government distributions is, because we won't necessarily have the chance, unless someone brings a bill every 2 years, to debate how much each local government should get. So I would look to the back of the bill, the fiscal note in the bill. I would also compare it to the 2024 local government distributions bill, which was 2024 House Bill 70, and make sure that when we enshrine this formula into state statute for all time for our municipalities and our counties, that we have the right numbers that we want to work with. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Further discussion on the bill. Representative Lean.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To the good speaker's point, I just want to remind the body that when we set this number, this is just the very base that they could ever take. That appropriations always would have the ability to put them in the budget to receive more money if this body felt that that was something that they needed. That this would just be a very baseline that gave them the ability to carry forward with stable numbers they can count on statutorily.
Further discussion on the bill. Chairman Bear.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Just want to address the good points of the minority floor leader. Those were very good points. And this is the debate. This is the policy question on this bill. Those people involved, both the counties that you represent and the small towns and cities, all considered this a win-win. So we're really trying to make something that really helps our small communities, and that's what this bill does. As far as the formula is concerned, I just want you to have a little history here. This formula was first instituted in 2005. I didn't hear the bringer of the bill, the explainer of the bill, if he covered this or not. It's called the Madden formula. It's been in place for now 21 years, and it works really well. And we thought we might be able to come up with a better idea, but after much research this summer, we determined that what has been working for 2 decades works really well, and it was best not to mess with that. And I would encourage this body to take that advice as well. Thank you.
Further discussion on the bill. Representative Larson.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Just a little correction. The Madden formula hasn't been in place for 25 years. I've only been in 13 years, and so I'm going to say maybe 8 or 9 years that it's been in.
Further discussion on the bill. Seeing none, question being called. All those in favor of Chairman Bear's motion that when the committee of the whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that House Bill 107 do pass. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. House Bill 107 has passed committee of the whole. The next bill for our consideration is House Joint Resolution 2. The reading clerk will read the bill.
House Resolution number 2, a joint resolution, federal mineral royalties state share, a joint resolution requesting Congress to introduce a bill and enact a law to increase the state of Wyoming's share of federal mineral royalties from 50% to 87.5%. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 5, Agriculture, State, and Public Lands and Water Resources, to whom is referred House Joint Resolution 2, Federal Mineral Royalties State Share, respectfully report same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Representatives Banks, Davis, Fornstrom, Johnson, Ottman, Provenza, Schmid, Strzok, Winter. Representative Winter, Chairman.
You've heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Vice Chairman Banks?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I move that when the committee of the whole rises to report, do so with the recommendation that House Joint Resolution 2 do pass. And to explain the bill, I'll turn it over to my good friend from Uintah County.
Thank you. Madam Chair, thank you. This is a resolution where we're basically requesting Congress to introduce a bill that would change the split that currently exists on our royalties. This mirrors a letter that was sent, I think it was from our Minerals Committee, or, yep, yep. They sent that out, and this is, from what I gathered, the response that they got from their request was, we'll look at it. We are in the process of just meeting for the Federal Natural Resource Select Committee when we found out about the letter they had submitted. And we were not happy with the response we got. It was like, well, we'll look at it. So this is in response to that. This is reiterating what was said by our Appropriations Committee to Congress, to our congressional delegation, but we're being more forthright. We're asking that a specific bill be written that would change that split. It would change it to an 87.5 and 16.5, or 12.5 is what it is. But it's important to understand what we're asking for is not out of the realm. Alaska, Anwar, everybody's heard of Anwar, the big wilderness area up there in Alaska. They get 90% of their mineral royalties. They did that upon statehood. So what we're trying to do is, I guess, renegotiate or at least assert the fact 46% of Wyoming is federal lands. And we're trying to get the ability to stand up as a state. I've always said this is analogous. First, you start out as a baby. The state was a little baby and, in need of being nourished. We finally kind of got up where we could crawl around, then we learned to walk. This is the state of Wyoming learning to run. But this is a request to have more of those dollars coming back into the state from our federal royalties. So I think it's pretty easy. It is just asking our congressional delegation to actually introduce a bill that will address those changes. So with that, stand for any questions.
Thank you, Representative Worf. Discussion on the bill. Question being called. All those in favor of Vice Chairman Banks' motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that House Joint Resolution 2 do pass. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. House Joint Resolution 2 has passed Committee of the Whole. Body, you will need to refresh your computer screen. There are some new bills up. We'll go ahead and pause for a minute and we're going to switch chairmanship here.
Okay, members, so the next bill will be 3, then 4, then 5, then 8, then 9. So that's our list. House Bill 3, House Bill 4, House Bill 5, House Bill 8, House Bill 9. And the next bill for our consideration is House Bill 3. Reading clerk, would you please read the bill?
House Bill 3, sponsored by Labor, Wyoming Pregnancy Centers, Autonomy and Rights, an act relating to public health and safety. Mr. Speaker, your Committee Number 10, Labor, Health, and Social Services, to whom is referred House Bill 3, Wyoming Pregnancy Centers, Autonomy and Rights, respectfully report, same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Representatives Gugmas, Heft, McCann, Ottman, Rodriguez-Williams, Wasserberger. Noes, Representatives Klauston, Thayer, and Yen. Representative Rodriguez-Williams, Chairman.
You've heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Chairman Rodriguez-Williams?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move House Bill 3 to Committee of the Whole and ask for your favorable consideration. Members of the body, House Bill 3 is designed to protect pregnancy centers in Wyoming from government interference, discrimination, or coercion based on their pro-life mission and beliefs. The bill makes it clear that pregnancy centers cannot be penalized, restricted, or shut down simply because they do not provide for, refer for, or promote abortion or abortion-inducing drugs or contraception. The bill also protects a pregnancy center's right to counsel women about all pregnancy-related care, including information about treatments that may reverse the effects of abortion-inducing drugs. Government entities cannot censor or prohibit these conversations. Additionally, the bill safeguards the center's staffing and hiring decision. The bill does have a enforcement mechanism in it. And also the bill would the bill has an effective date of July 1, 2026. And I'll stand for questions.
Any questions? Representative Chestick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can the bringer of the bill please explain to me how this bill adds anything that's not already in the First Amendment?
Chairman Rodriguez-Williams.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Great question. We did hear a testimony in committee from several directors of these centers within our state. And we also heard testimony from senior attorneys with that represent life-affirming organizations at a national level. And what we heard was that there are some states, regardless of a recent Supreme Court decision that dealt with a similar issue, there's some states that are actually still passing laws and attacks are still happening that pertain to government coercion against these centers. So although the First Amendment does protect, there are still many incidents that are occurring across the nation.
Anyone else? Representative Clausen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Just to explain my no vote, I really believe in the mission of these centers. But what this bill does, it gives, I feel, special protections to one nonprofit. So we just need to consider, we'll be giving special protections similar to this to other nonprofits. So that's the explanation of my no vote.
Representative Thayer.
Thank you, Speaker Pro Tem. As the last speaker spoke, as my no vote in committee this morning, also making sure that we're not setting a precedence. I am pro-life. I live in a maternity desert, but just make sure that we're not setting a precedence on special treatment and special protection. Thank you.
Representative Ottman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What I will say in reference to that, my vote was an aye vote. And the reason being is because there is reason for this. There are many 501c3s around, but very few of them are protested. Very few of them have been threatened. There's a Jane's Revenge or something that's out there where people have been getting threats.
Let's not use proper terms,
Sorry.
please. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And what I'll say too is this bill gives dignity and value to a class of citizens that need it. And these pregnancy centers, there is so much false information about not being viable, not about what they do, like saying that they're medical centers, not having, being under a medical supervision. Each one of these has bylaws and they have things that they have to do. And they're under a medical professional, and they have registered nurses that are there. So it's a very viable place. And that's what I'll say. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else like to speak on this bill? Not seeing anyone. We have a question. Question haven't been called. All those in favor of Chairman Rodriguez-Williams' motion that when the committee of the whole rises to report it do so with the recommendation that House Bill number 3 do pass, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. That bill does pass. So House Bill number 3 has passed committee of the whole. The next bill for your consideration is House Bill number 4. Would the reading clerk please read the bill?
House Bill 4, sponsored by Labor, Birthing Centers, Medicaid Coverage, an act relating to medical assistance and services. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 10, Labor, Health, and Social Services, to whom is referred House Bill 4, Birthing Centers, Medicaid Coverage, respectfully report same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Representatives Klauston, Guggenmoss, McCann, Ottman, Rodriguez-Williams, Thayer, Wasserberger, Yin. Noes, Representative Heft. Representative Rodriguez-Williams, Chairman.
You've heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Chairman Rodriguez-Williams?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that when committee of the whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that House Bill 4 do pass. And I'll turn the explanation over to the good representative, where there's huge mountains that probably are the only ones with snow right now on them.
Minority Floor Leader Yin.
Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, I did hear that there are snow plows right now, so that's good news. Members, I bring to you House Bill 4, Birthing Centers Medicaid Coverage. So members, over the interim, we learned that there is something called a freestanding birth center. A freestanding birth center is not a hospital, but it's a freestanding building that's separate from a hospital that midwives can assist and perform births, essentially. And so what we have never had in Wyoming is a freestanding birth center, a licensed freestanding birth center. Before midwives can perform births in homes, we had made that legal. We had the structure for regulations for what a freestanding birth center is. So there's a licensure for it, but we've never had one actually exist. The first one is in the process of being licensed, a freestanding birth center. And what they have asked for is ensuring that they get Medicaid coverage for their facility fees. If you look on the fiscal note of this bill, the fiscal note actually says we're going to reduce state spending by passing this. And that's because for a fixed number of births, so whenever there's a new freestanding birth center, those uncomplicated births no longer have to give birth in a hospital. They can go to the freestanding birth center instead. And the facility fee for a Medicaid birth at a freestanding birth center is less than the facility fee for a hospital. And so every Medicaid birth that we have that doesn't happen in a hospital saves the state money, essentially. So we have these uncomplicated births that can happen in these freestanding birth centers. And happy to answer any questions, but all that to say, this bill actually saves the state money and provides coverage for a new business in Wyoming. There's the first one's going to be in our lovely capital city, and the second one, there's actually a second one also being worked on in being licensed in the southwest corner of the state. And with that, I ask for your favorable consideration. Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem.
Absolutely. Anyone else would like to speak on this bill? Representative Heft.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. I was the lone dissenting vote on this bill only because I'm always concerned about Medicaid and possible expansion. It's been my experience over the years, an observation that many of these things grow a set of horns and you can't get it back in the chute later.
Minority Floor Leader Yin.
Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, thank you. So one of the other things that we heard from our department was that Medicaid actually requires us to cover freestanding birth centers. The only reason we haven't had this in statute before, again, is because we haven't had licensed freestanding birth centers. So if a licensed freestanding birth center comes into existence and we don't have this statute in place, we will also be out of compliance with CMS. Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. And apologies for naming that.
Chairman Bear.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just say for those that are concerned about Medicaid growing horns, I think that this is really more of a Medicaid redirect rather than an expansion. My opinion is that these birthing centers are really good for us to overcome the desert, if you will, of OBGYN care. So vote your conscience, but I wouldn't characterize this as Medicaid expansion.
Representative Larson Lloyd.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And if I might just tag on to the Chairman of Appropriations comment, over the next few days, there'll be a lot of conversation on budget issues, and you'll get into the Department of Health and you'll talk about Medicaid and those sorts of things. And I think that understanding the term of Medicaid expansion is really important, and you can alter that a little bit, but Medicaid has criteria that allows you to be enrolled. You have to be, if you're over 19 and under 62, you can't unless you're disabled or have some other disabling condition that would allow you to be. But if you're healthy, you're not able to. Medicaid expansion come under the Affordable Care Act that said for those people who fit in a criteria of 138% of poverty level or less, that historically would not qualify for Medicaid because of their age and would then be allowed to be enrolled. That was expanding Medicaid beyond the rules beyond the guidelines for which Medicaid was established. We have not expanded Medicaid, probably should, but we haven't. And so when we come up with these Medicaid programs, it's not expanding like the birthing centers, as the good chairman pointed out, isn't expanding Medicaid beyond the rules in which was originally designed. So for the facilities, it's really covering this child now is covered under Medicaid through the infant portion because they're up to age 19. So just kind of bear that in mind, because we get a lot of emails saying that this is careful of this bill because it's expanding Medicaid. Well, it might be a new Medicaid program, and it might require the state to participate with more general funds to amend their Medicaid plan, but it's still within the guidelines, the original guidelines that govern Medicaid. FYI. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else for their first time? I guess it doesn't matter on first time or second time. We're on the committee of the whole. Anyone else would like to opine on this bill? Any further discussion? Representative Pendergraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't think it's any secret that I'm not a big fan of the Medicaid program, the way that it's set up. I think it's failing. I think it's eventually doomed to collapse. And so then we have to say, well, what are we going to replace it with? How do we stretch it? How do we make it do better? And in my view, this actually helps. It's thinking outside the box, if you would. It is trying to do something a little bit different that maybe will make those Medicaid dollars go farther. And that is why I voted aye to bring it to the floor.
Anyone else? Are you ready for the question? The question having been called, all those in favor of Chairman Rodriguez-Williams' motion that when the committee of the whole rises to report it, do so with the recommendation that House Bill number 4 do pass, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. That passes. Yeah, okay. I'm going to hand over the seat. Yep.
The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 5. The reading clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 5, sponsored by Minerals, Oil and Gas Bonding Pool, Investment and Earnings, an act relating to oil and gas. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 9, Minerals, Business and Economic Development, to whom's referred House Bill 5, Oil and Gas Bonding Pool, Investment and Earnings. Respect the report, send back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Representatives Campbell, Heiner, Knapp, Larson, Lawley, Riggins, Schmid, Tarver, Weber. Representative Heiner, Chairman.
You've heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Chairman Heiner?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, Madam Chair. I move the House Bill 5. I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so with the recommendation that House Bill number 5 do pass. And I turn over the explanation of the said bill to the good representative from the land of sugar.
Representative Lawley.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Ladies and gentlemen, this is probably the most simple bill we've done today, honestly. So remember last session, we passed the oil and gas bonding bill, which was historic and important for our oil and gas industry. And we had an error. We inadvertently forgot to add some language that made it very clear that the earnings in the bonding pool would be put back into that pool. And without that language, we haven't left appropriate instructions with what they do with the investment earnings in that pool. So we want to correct that. I can tell you as one who served on the original work group for this bonding bill, which was again, very significant and important, we did not intend that the money would do anything but stay and be reinvested into the pool. So there's no new policy here. There's just simply correcting that error of the language needed so that those that handle the money can know that that is what they're supposed to do with those earnings. So again, I just urge you to vote in favor of, and I stand for any questions.
Discussion on the bill. Question being called. All those in favor of Chairman Heiner's motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that House Bill 5 do pass. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. House Bill 5 has passed Committee of the Whole. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill number 8. The reading clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 8, sponsored by Judiciary, Stalking of Minors, an act relating to crimes and offenses. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 1, Judiciary, to whom's referred House Bill 8, Stalking of Minors. Respect the report, same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Representatives Brady, Bratton, Chestick, Filer, Lean, Singh, Washit, Webb. Excused, Representative Kelly. Representative Washit, Chairman.
You have heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Chairman Washit?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, that do so with recommendation of House Bill 8 pass. And I'm going to ask the explanation of the bill and the well, I'm going to handle this one. I'm sorry. Had the wrong bill on top. House Bill 8 was considered by your committee number 1 this morning. We took public testimony. This bill arises from a really tragic case that occurred in the middle of our state where 2 young teenagers were stalked in a virtual manner using technology for a year. And the perpetrator ends up being an adult, a 40-year-old woman. And the tragedy of the case was that it exposed that in Wyoming, when you have an adult stalking minors, it's still a misdemeanor crime. And so what the purpose of this bill is to change that and to create a single section under the stalking statute that would make stalking by a adult against a minor where the defendant is not less than 18, so the perpetrator is not a minor as well. But when an adult is stalking a minor, that becomes a felony level crime. Now, this is important for a number of reasons. One, deterrence. In this case, we heard testimony that the perpetrator made comments. So what? It's only a misdemeanor. Number two, in some of our counties where victim services advocates are in short supply, they tend to be distributed first and foremost to victims of felonious crimes. And if you're a victim of a misdemeanor, you're probably not going to get those resources made available to you. So that's all this bill does, is simply add an additional section into our stalking statute so that if the defendant is an adult and the victim is a minor, that becomes a felony crime. We specifically wanted to keep this bill very simple. There are probably other changes that we may want to consider in the future with regard to this statute. But we right away wanted to get this piece of it taken care of and to make sure that we have that deterrent effect in place, and that in the future, if an adult chooses to stalk a minor and completely disrupts their lives and causes all sorts of fear and trauma, mental health issues, that they be punished appropriately. And so with that, I'll stand for questions.
Thank you, Chairman Washit. Discussion on the bill. Question being called. All those in favor of Chairman Washit's motion that when the committee of the whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that House Bill 8 do pass. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. House Bill 8 has passed committee of the whole. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 9. The reading clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 9, sponsored by Judiciary, Grooming of Children, Offenses and Amendments, an act relating to crimes and offenses. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 1, Judiciary, to whom is referred House Bill 9, Grooming of Children, Offenses and Amendments, respect the report, same back to the House with the recommendation that do pass with the following amendments. Ayes, Representatives Brady, Bratton, Chestick, Filer, Lean, Singh, Washit, Webb. Excused, Representative Kelly. Representative Washit, Chairman.
Madam Chairman.
You've heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Chairman Washit?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that when the committee of the whole rises and report, do so with a recommendation that House Bill 9 do pass, and that the amendment, committee of the whole amendment also pass. I turn over explanation of the bill and the committee of the whole amendment, or the standing committee amendment, to the good representative from county number 1 to my left.
Representative Lean. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Before you today is House Bill 9, and it talks about the grooming of children. It talks about repeated and intentional conversations aimed at grooming minors, focusing on protecting children from predatory behavior. It defines grooming behaviors based on pattern and intent, a criminal offense for harmful communications that is directed to our most vulnerable population. It does not criminalize a single text message or compliment. It does not criminalize lawful speech between adults. It is an intent and pattern requirement that is significant of a bar to show that it is sexual orientation or the intent to cause harm via sexual abuse. A pattern of behavior that is incrementally lowers the bar and normalizes sexual contact is a predatory step. This bill is not intended to cover lawful mentorship, coaching, teaching, caregiving relationships. Those are all well within the bounds of normal communications to be had. On to the amendment. I move, I move when the committee of a whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that House Bill 9 do pass with the adoption of the standing committee amendment. And in this amendment, on page 3, line 7, after procedure, it inserts performed by a licensed medical professional. Page 5, line 20, delete 10 and insert 5. Page 5, line 21, do this, delete the 10 and insert the 5. Page 6, line 4, delete entirely. Page 6, line 5,
starting at law, delete the line through law and insert by imprisonment for not more than 10 years. Page 6, line 12, less than 25 years, delete and insert more than 15 years. Page 6, line 13, change 50,000 to 15,000. And this is just to help clean up some of the penalties and make them more consistent with statute that we already have. Any questions on the amendment?
Thank you, Representative Lean. Any discussion on the standing committee amendment? Discussion on the standing committee amendment. Okay, question being called. All those in favor of standing committee amendment number 1, say aye. All opposed, no. Standing committee amendment number 1 has been adopted. We're back on the bill, but we have another amendment.
Madam Chairwoman. Oh. Madam Chairwoman.
Representative Wiley.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. At this time, I'd like to move Committee of the Whole Amendment number 1 for House Bill 9. What this amendment does is it takes some of the language in there for the different things for the social media platforms, gaming platforms, other digital community or digital communication services. I believe that brings it up to snuff more so than what was originally in the bill. I believe this is a favorable amendment that will help strengthen the bill, give it some more teeth for our folks that have to do these investigations and stuff at home. And then also, if you go down, I also want to add an enhanced penalty for persons who are the most trusted in our society. This would be our teachers. This would be our clergy members. This would be, preachers. Anybody that we trust with our children needs. I believe that step over the line need to be held to a higher standard than the rest of us. So essentially, what this does, it will double the penalty for all those cases across the board. And it's conforming to the amendment that they did in committee earlier. I believe both of these actions are favorable and help the bill. At this time, I would like to ask for your favorable consideration.
Thank you, Representative Wiley. Discussion on Committee of the Whole Amendment 1. Representative Lean.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In favor of the amendment, as it is intended to do. And I am in favor of also having the most trusted with our children have a heightened penalty if they cross that boundary.
Further discussion on the amendment. Representative Chestick.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm confused. The version of the amendment, the Committee of the Whole Amendment number 1 that I have pulled up from the website I don't see the language about trusted persons. I see on lines 8 through 27, there's some changes to the thing we just amended a moment ago. So do I have the wrong version? Position of authority.
Madam
Oh,
Chairwoman.
okay.
Representative Wiley.
I apologize for that. It says a person who occupies a position of authority. I apologize.
So all right. I think.
Representative Chestick.
Thank you. I'm sorry. So this does not undo the amendment we just passed, okay, thank you. No more questions.
Further discussion on the Committee of the Whole Amendment. Representative Haroldson.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairwoman. On and for the amendment, this would apply to me. I'm a pastor. I'll be honest with you, every time you open up the news and you see of someone who is trusted hurt someone, it breaks your heart. And there should be a higher calling. I mean, James 3 says, let not many of you become teachers, for you shall receive a stricter judgment. That's a biblical statement, but that applies even into this conversation. Absolutely. These are people that are trusted. And as such, they need to understand that their actions have lasting implications way beyond. So on and for the amendment.
Further discussion on the Committee of the Whole Amendment number 1. Okay, seeing none. Question being called. All those in favor of Committee of the Whole Amendment number 1, say aye. All opposed, no. The Committee of the Whole Amendment number 1 has been adopted. Ladies and gentlemen, there are additional amendments, so you'll need to refresh your screen. We will move on to Committee of the Whole Amendment number 2. Representative Chustik.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. So this amendment is designed to protect sex education classes that are authorized by reputable organizations, school districts, churches, things like that. So the problem is on page 2 of the definition of grooming. Grooming means behavior that seeks to prepare a minor to engage in sexual conduct. That's what sex education is designed to do. It is to help young people understand their bodies and how they work. And it's not saved by any other part of the bill as far as I can see. So I have proposed this amendment. It will have to change from G to H now with the prior amendment just having passed. But what this does is it carves out an exception for sex education classes that are sponsored by schools, public or private, or religious organizations. There's the second sentence of this amendment is designed to make sure we're not creating an opportunity for predators to teach a sex class and then use that opportunity. So it distinguishes between the teaching of sex education, which is permitted, but if you commit sex crimes, that is still prosecutable under the second sentence of this amendment. So a simple amendment to try and make sure that we are not criminalizing the teaching of sex education.
Discussion on Committee of the Whole Amendment number 2. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for the question? Question having been called, all those in favor of Committee of the Whole Amendment number 2, say aye. All those opposed, no. Division being called, the chair is in doubt. All those in favor, please stand. And stand still, please. All those opposed, please stand. Okay, more than 19. So that amendment has failed. We will move on to the next amendment. Committee of the Whole Amendment number 3, Representative Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Body, I'm going to apologize in advance. If you take a look and you refresh your screen, you've got 5 more amendments, but I'm hoping to make these relatively quick. The reason I chose to do these as individual amendments is they all have their own implications. And as we go through each one of these implications, I'll try to explain what it's doing here. So I do apologize that we're going to vote on them, but we will be hopefully able to do it relatively quickly. So with that, Madam Chairwoman, I will move Committee of the Whole Amendment number 3. And Body, I will ask for your favorable consideration. First portion that we're going to do here, I want to be explicitly clear. I did vote against this bill on introduction. And the reason I voted against this bill on introduction was strictly and 100% due to the errors that I'm about ready to correct. And I'm hoping that this body corrects. there is a lot of, we'll just say social media posts calling me really good, nasty names for voting against this. And I'd just like to make sure that I rectify that no, I'm not trying to help child groomers, and no, I'm not a child rapist. Those are real fun. So what number 3 is going to do, ladies and gentlemen, is if you look at page 2, line 7, what we're really doing it just outlines some statutes. And it's 62302 through 62304 and 62313 through 62318. Well, what are those statutes? Well, those statutes are our sexual assault on minors and our sexual assault. And the reason we have these is there's another amendment coming up. Whether or not you guys vote that one up or down doesn't matter. This is a little more of a belts and suspenders type of a situation that says, hey, look, unless this person has committed these crimes, and one of these is actual penetration, actual sexual actions with a minor, that's already a statute. So we don't need to re-include that in this statute. And so what we're saying is, except for what's already outlined in statute, we don't need to include it on this one. So this one is very simple. When we move into the next amendment, we'll have a little bit more debate on that one. And I'll explain that one a little bit more. But in essence, that's what this amendment does. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you. Any discussion on Committee of the Whole Amendment number 3? Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, sensing the urge to vote. Question being called. All those in favor of Committee of the Whole Amendment number 3, say aye. All opposed, no. Committee of the Whole Amendment number 3 has been adopted. We are on to the next amendment. Representative Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I will now move Committee of the Whole Amendment number 4 to House Bill 9 and ask for the committee's favorable consideration. What we're doing on this is, if you look at page 2, line 23, the terminology is actual or, and what we're striking is the actual or, and I believe the other one is, I can't remember the other word that's in there, but you're looking at the bill and I'm not. The term actual or being brought into this, in my opinion, is duplicative, and what it actually does is it creates a little bit of a conflict in statute of how a prosecutor would actually look at applying this law versus those laws that we just re-included in here. So the reason I ran these as 2 separate amendments is I did speak with the bringer of the bill from last year that has got a very strong passion on this particular issue. And there was a little bit of a disagreement. So I'm just going to ask for the body's interpretation on this. This would be you guys looking at this and saying, yeah, I agree or I don't agree. To me, honestly, what I think this does is it makes it very clear that if there is actual sexual penetration or anything along those lines that is outlisted in that section of page 2, right underneath line 23, all of those things that are listed underneath there are already encapsulated within that 62302 through 304, 313 through 318. So because they're already actually happening, there's no need to reinforce that section of statute. And I think it actually muddies the water when a prosecutor goes to identify which crime am I going to charge this person with? Am I going to charge them with the grooming, or am I going to charge them with the actual sexual assault on a child? Because they're both saying that this actually happened to this person. So again, vote your conscience on this one. I don't really have a care one way or the other on this, but I do think that it cleans it up a little bit.
Discussion on the amendment. Representative Lean.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would urge a no on this amendment because if you read it in its entirety, when it starts at line 12 on page 2, it talks about deliberate acts that establish an emotional connection with a minor through manipulation, trust building, on down. And then it says online or in-person activities. And then it gives a list of what those activities are. And that is why actual is in there. If we remove the word actual, it will significantly limit this bill to only online or on a digital device and not in person.
Thank you. Representative Yin.
Madam Chairman, thank you. So I think that actually misreads which subsection goes to which Romanet. What I would ask is, I know we still have a few lawyers in the room, and I would be interested in the opinion on what their thoughts on how this would be interpreted.
Further discussion on the amendment? Chairman Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. So I don't think this actually removes that ability to charge those crimes. And I did speak with our attorneys back in our bullpen and wanted to make sure. I'm not in any way, shape, or form trying to reduce this. What I think we have created is duplicative crimes. And I do think that this makes it a little muddy for a prosecuting attorney to look at this and go, am I going to charge this person with grooming when they actually had a, we'll just say sexual intercourse because that's in there. So sexual intercourse, did they actually have that? And if they did, I think that puts it underneath the sexual assault on a minor. If we have that there and we also have it in here, that leaves it ambiguously up to the prosecutor as to which crime to actually charge for. Am I charging for the grooming of the minor or sexual assault of the minor? And that's all I'm trying to say is I want to get this clean so a prosecutor can look at this and say, without a doubt, I'm charging this person for grooming, or without a doubt, I'm charging this person with sexual assault. And there shouldn't be any of this ambiguity in there. So that's all this is trying to do. Again, voted up or voted down.
Any further discussion on Committee of the Whole Amendment number 4? Question being called. All those in favor of Committee of the Whole Amendment number 4, say aye. All opposed, no. The Committee of the Whole Amendment number 4 has not been adopted. We will move on to Committee of the Whole Amendment number 5. Chairman Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Ladies and gentlemen, I will move Committee of the Whole Amendment number 5 and ask for your favorable consideration. What this does is this cleans up confliction in the statute as you're reading this bill, and it also will end up going into the next committee amendment as well. What we have right now is a very gray area in the statute that if you are 17 and you have somebody that is underneath the age of you by 4 years or less, it kind of creates this gray area because if you keep following that section of statute down, it doesn't quite work. And so what we did is we removed the 16 years of age, because if you're 17 years old and you have a boyfriend or girlfriend at 16, you don't meet both criteria as it's listed out in this section or in this statute. So therefore, as it's written right now, you would not be able to charge that person with grooming. So this is actually allowing that person who is 17 years old, and we'll actually get into the 18, to actually be charged with this crime if they have somebody that is less than 4 years underneath them, but they are older than 16. So all we're doing is removing the under 16 years of age to make the statute read cleaner.
Discussion on the amendment. Representative Lean.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On and in favor of the amendment as it actually does strengthen it and gives us a broader scope to be able to capture those predators.
Further discussion on Amendment number 5. Representative Yen.
Madam Chairman, thank you. Maybe I need some help. I'm trying to figure out because, I mean, generally we're talking about adults and minors, but when we talk about the 16, 17 area where it's kids talking to other kids, our kids, I mean, our 17, and please, again, I haven't read through the whole bill, and I frankly should be doing more work on understanding how these amendments read in. But I need help understanding what counts as grooming when we have 17-year-olds and 16-year-olds. And should that be what we're considering? And is that the policy decision we're talking about?
Any further discussion? Chairman Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. To the good representative where the Tetons are at, it's probably against the rules because I'm going to talk about another amendment when I'm on this one, but the last amendment that you have actually fixes that. And it does create, as the bill stands right now, it does say 17, which is also in confliction with other multitude of statutes where we have the age of 18 is the age of consent as well as an adult personhood. So we'll get to that. But this actually, what this does is this removes that 16-year-old. Being that descriptive in the statute actually makes it to where the line's right above it, where if you are 17 and you have somebody that's underneath 4 years of age, there was this gray area between 17 and 16 years old that you probably couldn't be charged with this crime even if the prosecutor wanted to. So this is just cleaning up that if you are underneath the age of consent and this is occurring, you can be charged with this crime.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, question being called. All those in favor of Committee of the Whole Amendment number 5, say aye. All opposed, no. Committee of the Whole Amendment number 5 has been adopted. We'll move on to the next amendment. Committee of the Whole Amendment number 6, Chairman Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Bear with me, guys. We're almost there, I promise. I will move Committee of the Whole Amendment number 6 and ask for your favorable consideration. Ladies and gentlemen, this is just conforming language to what you see with the other language inside the penalties. This is just inserting but older than 12 years of age. And what this does is that conforms the language for the punishment as well as the actual crime. That is all we're doing, is just mirroring the same language. There's nothing else in here that we're doing. I'm just making sure that we tidy up the language and the drafting is done right.
Discussion on the amendment. Seeing none, question being called. All those in favor of the Committee of the Whole Amendment number 6, say aye. All opposed, no. Committee of the Whole Amendment number 6 has been adopted. It looks like we have a few more amendments, folks. We will move on to Committee of the Whole Amendment number 7, Chairman Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I will move Committee of the Whole Amendment number 7 and ask for your favorable consideration. Ladies and gentlemen, this is also just going back to our previous discussion that was brought up by our good minority floor leader. This is deleting 17 and turning it into 18, which is the same area that we have everywhere else in statute. When you become an adult, you can be charged as an adult. This would really create a lot of problems, I think, with prosecution and being able to charge as an adult, with this being basically the only crime. So we're striking 17 and putting in 18 as the default time.
Thank you. Discussion on Committee of the Whole Amendment number 7. Question being called. All those in favor of Committee of the Whole Amendment number 7, say aye. All opposed, no. Committee of the Whole Amendment number 7 has been adopted. We're moving on to the next amendment, Committee of the Whole Amendment number 8.
Thank you, Madam
Chairman Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I will move Committee of the Whole Amendment number 8. And again, ladies and gentlemen, this is one of those that I would ask personally for you guys to vote for. Again, this is a decision that you will decide whether or not you want to do. All we're doing is making this effective immediately. So if there is a crime that does occur, this statute is on the books starting the day that the chief executive downstairs signs it. You will hear from the next speaker that the chiefs of police and the people that are going to be enforcing this law wanted a little bit of time to train investigators and that kind of stuff. Personally, I don't necessarily buy that we need to have that extra amount of time to get the training out there. I would personally rather have this law on the books and have it be ready to go. So I'm asking for this to be moved to effective immediately upon signature of the chief executive.
Thank you. Discussion on Amendment 8, Representative Lean.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And to the bringer, he is right. I did speak with the agency that would be enforcing this, and they did ask for a little time to be able to get it implemented. But I also agree, the faster we get it on the books, the more children we're protecting, and I'm always for protecting our most vulnerable. And so please vote your conscience. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Amendment number 8. Seeing none. Question being called. All those in favor of Committee of the Whole Amendment number 8, say aye. All opposed, no. Committee of the Whole Amendment number 8 has been adopted. That was the last amendment. Question being called. All those in favor of Chairman Washett's motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that House Bill 9 do pass. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. House Bill 9 has passed Committee of the Whole. That is our last bill on the agenda for Committee of the Whole.
Gotcha.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Mr. Majority Floor Leader. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Committee of the Whole rise and report. Reading clerk. Or excuse me, representative.
I move the adoption of the Committee of the Whole report.
Reading clerk.
Mr. Speaker, your Committee of the Whole, having had under consideration bills on general file, begs leave to report as follows. House Bill 32, do pass amended. House Bill 34, do pass amended. House Bill 35, do pass amended. House Bill 36, do pass amended. House Bill 45, do pass amended. House Bill 85, do pass amended. House Bill 86, do pass. House Bill 105, do pass amended. House Bill 106, do pass. House Bill 107, do pass. House Joint Resolution 2, do pass. House Bill 3, do pass. House Bill 4, do pass. House Bill 5, do pass. Excuse me. House Bill 8, do pass. House Bill 9, do pass amended. Representative Rodriguez Williams, Chairman.
You have heard the motion. All of. Doubt? Congratulations, Chairman Williams. Thank you very much. Okay. Now, unless there are announcements or anything that we have, we've got time here, so we're going to go back into. We are going to go back into introductions. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be planning on stopping at 5 p.m. so that we have time to be able to make it down to the next deal down there in the for the human trafficking. Yeah, we'll need a little time to do committee wrap-ups and reports and things like that. So, all right. Let me get my. Where did I put it? $132, yes. Okay. We are at that point of introduction of bills. Next bill for our introduction is House Bill 132. Reading clerk.
House Bill 132, sponsored by Representative Davis.
First reading of the bill.
Nicotine products, manufacturer, licensing, and reporting.
Representative Davis, 2 minutes.
Thought I'd hide over here from you, sir. I'd like to move House Bill number 32 and ask for a favorable consideration on this bill. Okay, vaping is a growing industry across Wyoming and across this nation. And with that, a lot of it is non-regulated products entering this industry at this time. So with the introduction of House Bill 132, legislation aiming at addressing the growing problem of Wyoming's nicotine marketplace and spread of illicit, unregulated vape products, many of which originate overseas and enter into our state with no accountability. These products are often manufactured outside the United States, imported through complex supply chains, and sold without clear information about what their contents are. The origins of who is responsible. This House Bill 132 is looking at that problem of manufacturers of the e-cigarettes, to be licensed, certified, and in compliance with the relevant laws that we have in the state of Wyoming. Okay, it's just as important for us about this bill as protecting the young people that use these products. We want to be sure that our children, our younger people, younger generation are getting what they're paying for or not getting what they're paying for. So I think this bill will help to bring that in, bring it in, regulate it, and give a consumer-safe product to the industry. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you, Representative. Any members would like to speak in opposition for 1 minute? No members? Back to the bringer. Representative Davis, 30 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, here we go. Members, you're voting on House Bill 132, nicotine products manufacturer licensing and reporting. Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Allemand, Andrew, Angelos, Banks, Bear, Brady, Bratton. Repeat. Brown, Gary, Brown, Landon, Byron, Campbell, Elisa, Campbell, Kevin, Chestick, Klauston, Connolly, Davis, Erickson, Filer, Hornstrom, Geringer, Guggenmoss, Haroldson, Harshman, Heiner, Heft, Jarvis, Johnson, Kelly, excused, Knapp, Larson Lloyd, Larson JT, Lawley, repeat, Lean, Locke, Lucas, McCann, Nicholas, Ottman, Pendergraft, Posey, Provenza, Riggins, Rodriguez Williams, Schmid, Sherwood, Singh, Smith, Storer, Strzok, Stivar, Tarver, Thayer, Washut, Wasserberger, Webb, Weber, Wharf, Williams, Winter, Wiley, Yin. Mr. Speaker, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Nicholas, no to aye. Excuse me. Campbell, Kevin, no to aye. Further changes. Larson, JT, no to aye. Jarvis, did you have a corrected vote? Jarvis? No to aye. Further changes? Further changes. Closing vote. Vote closed. 29 aye, 32 no, 1 excused.
Having failed to receive an affirmative vote of 2/3 of the elected members, House Bill 132 has failed introduction. Next bill for our consideration is House Bill 133. Reading clerk.
House Bill 133, sponsored by Representative Davis.
First reading of the bill.
Conservation districts, contracting and supervisors.
Representative Davis, 2 minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is, I'd like to move House Bill 133 and ask for a favorable on this. What this comes to here, folks, is that in the fall meeting of the conservation districts of the districts that administer conservation in the state of Wyoming, they had some issues, and this was one that came up. It's an old antiquated deal here, and they would like some clarification here. So what it does, it brings back the original parameters of the number of supervisors on the bill and the makeup of the board. It also defines the difference between rural and urban members and sets the dates and lengths of their time that they serve on the board. And with that, this would bring them up to date and they would be much happier. So with that, I'd ask for an aye vote on this.
Thank you, Representative Davis. Any members speaking against the measure? 1 minute? None? Back to Representative Davis for 30 seconds if you so see fit.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Members, you're voting on House Bill 133, Conservation Districts Contracting and Supervisors. Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Allemand, Andrew, Angelos, Banks, Fair, Brady, Bratton, Brown Gary, Brown Landon, Byron, Campbell Elisa, Campbell Kevin, Chestick, Clauston, Connolly, Davis, Erickson, Filer, Fornstrom, Geringer, Guggenmoss, Harrelson, Harshman, Heiner, Heft, Jarvis, Johnson, Kelly, excused, Knapp, Larson Lloyd, Larson JT, Lawley, Lean, Locke, Lucas, McCann, Nicholas, Ottman, Pendergraft, Posey, Provenza, Riggins, Rodriguez Williams, Schmid, Sherwood, Singh, Smith, Storer, Strock, Stivar, Tarver, Thayer, Washut, Wasserberger, Webb, Weber, Wharf, Williams, Winter, Wiley, Yin. Mr. Speaker,
Aye.
are there any changes? Nicholas, no. To aye, further changes. Singh, no. To aye, further changes. Further changes. Closing vote. Vote closed. 42 aye, 19 no, 1 excused.
Having received an affirmative vote of 40 of 2/3 of the selected members, House Bill number 133 has been introduced and is assigned to Committee number 5, Agriculture. Mr. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, privilege of the House, please.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the chamber, I'd like you to point your attention to our West Gallery. We have an individual that's going to be speaking to us after we adjourn here by the name of Tyler Schwab. And just to tell you a little bit about him, Tyler went on a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to the Dominican Republic. And while he was down there preaching the gospel, he saw all of the Americans that would go down there and abuse young girls. And he didn't realize what was going on until he realized that these girls were being human trafficked and they had no choices. So when he came home after a couple of two years of serving, preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ, Tyler, thank you. Stand up while I'm talking about you. After 2 years of preaching the gospel, he came back and found a way to go back and rescue some of these young girls that were being trafficked. He's born and raised in Star Valley, Wyoming. He's a Wyoming boy trying to do what's right and rescue young girls one survivor at a time and provide them a path for freedom. He has a group called Libertas International. Their focus is preventing trafficking, rescuing victims. And the last time I saw him, he was pretty scruffy looking because he goes undercover to rescue these young girls. And then he works with empowering survivors. So I hope everybody can attend this afternoon when we adjourn. We'll be down in the auditorium, and the stories he will tell will be amazing. I told my wife about this for days afterwards because it was just amazing, some of the things that he told us. So Tyler, thank you for being here.
Welcome to the House, Tyler. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all you do. We look forward to hearing and what you are willing, what you're going to be sharing with us here momentarily. So thank you for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, next bill for our consideration is House Bill 135. Reading clerk.
House Bill 135, sponsored by Representative Stivar.
First reading of the bill.
Public officials, non-disclosure agreements.
Representative Stivar, 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move House Bill 135 and ask for your favorable considerations. This is a transparency bill that requires no non-disclosure agreements can be signed. So everything's up front and the thing. I did jump the gun on this bill a little. I've already had contact with the LSO. We're going to have to exempt the Office of Treasurer because of the financial institute. So if this goes forward, there will be amendment to this. But this is just saying that public official.
Representative Stivar, I don't mean to stop you. You're not losing no time. Did you move the bill? I don't believe we did.
Yeah, I moved
Did he?
bill.
Is he okay? All right. Thank you, Representative. Please go ahead.
Okay. Now I'm not, now I forgot what I was saying. This means none of your county officials, city officials, elected officials can sign non-disclosures, especially when it comes to these wind farms or data centers or whatever. It's got to be up in the open so everybody knows about it and they can't sneak something in on you, because I've seen it in my community and there's other communities that, you know, something will be going on. Oh, we've signed a non-disclosure. And the next thing you know, they're building it and there's no public comment on it. So I want your consideration to move this forward.
Thank you, Representative. Any members want to speak in opposition? 1 minute. Representative Filer? Okay, seeing none. Representative Stivar, 30 seconds to close. Waving it off. Okay. Members, you're voting on House Bill 135, Public Officials Non-Disclosure Agreements. Chief Clerk, call the roll.
Allemand. Andrew. Angelos. Banks. Bear. Brady. Bratton. Brown Gary. Brown Landon. Byron. Campbell Elisa. Campbell Kevin. Chestick. Faustin. Connolly. Davis. Erickson. Filer. Hornstrom. Geringer. Guggenmoss. Haroldson. Harshman. Heiner. Heft. Jarvis. Johnson. Kelly, excused. Knapp. Larson Lloyd. Larson JT. Lawley. Lean. Locke. Lucas. McCann. Nicholas. Ottman. Pendergraft. Posey. Provenza. Riggins. Rodriguez Williams. Schmid. Sherwood. Singh. Smith. Storer. Strock. Stivar. Tarver. Bayer. Washut. Wasserberger. Webb. Weber. Worf. Williams. Winter. Wiley. Yin. Mr. Speaker,
Aye.
are there any changes? Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 36 aye, 25 no, 1 excused.
Having failed to receive an affirmative vote of 2/3 of the elected members, House Bill 135 has failed introduction. Next bill for our consideration, House Bill 137. Reading clerk. 136. Oh, excuse me, I jumped the line. 136. Thank you.
House Bill 136, sponsored by Representative Nicholas.
First reading of the bill.
Parimutuel Wagering Highway Fund.
Representative Nicholas, 2 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would move House Bill 136 and ask for your favorable consideration. Ladies and gentlemen, what this is one more mechanism to help fund our highways. As you know, we're roughly a $500 million a year deficit in our highways. So how can we do that without taking pockets out of our taxpayers? Well, this is just one idea. And so if you look at House Bill 136, what this does is it takes that ball of money that you get from pari-mutuels gambling in the state of Wyoming. It takes 1% of that money and it delivers it to the highways. That 1% is equivalent to about $23 million a year. And so 23 plus 23 plus 23, and then as there's more gambling, the higher that number goes. So I'd ask for your favorable consideration.
Thank you, Representative Nicholas. Representative Pendergraft, 1 minute, opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do commend the bringer on constantly working on this issue that we have. My fear and my problem with this is that I do not want to see the state of Wyoming become dependent upon funds from this particular activity.
Thank you, Representative. Any other members would like to speak? Representative Lean. Thank you, Representative. 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and against, this money currently goes half to the general fund and half to our cities and towns, and I'd like to keep it that way.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Nicholas, 30 seconds. Rebuttal.
Thank you. I would just say that this doesn't impact any of the current dollars that go to their cities, towns, and counties. This just takes 1 more % from the owners and operators of the gambling folks in Wyoming. So your favorable consideration.
Thank you, Representative. Members, you're voting on House Bill 136, Pari-Mutuel Wagering Highway Fund. Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Allemand, Andrew, Angelos, Banks, Bear, Brady, Bratton, Brown, Gary, Brown, Landon, Byron, Campbell, Elisa, Campbell, Kevin, Chestick, Clauston, Connolly, repeat, Davis, Erickson, Filer, Hornstrom, Geringer, Guggenmoss, Haroldson, Harshman, Heiner, Heft, Jarvis, Johnson, Kelly, excused, Knapp, Larson Lloyd, Larson JT, Lawley, Lean, Locke, Lucas, McCann, Nicholas, Ottman, Pendergraft, Posey, Provenza, Riggins, Rodriguez-Williams, Schmid, Sherwood, Singh, Smith, Storer, Strock, Stivar, Tarver, Thayer, Washut, Wasserberger, Webb, Weber, repeat, Wharf, Williams, Winter, Wiley, Yin. Mr. Speaker, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Jarvis? Aye to no. Filer? Aye to no. Fornstrom? Aye to no. Angelos? Aye to no. Yin? Aye to no. Further changes? Thayer? Aye to no. Further changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 17 aye, 44 no, 1 excused.
Having failed to receive an affirmative vote of 2/3 of the elected members, House Bill 136 has failed introduction. Next bill for your consideration is House Bill 137.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Reading clerk, we'll need to have him read it in. Reading clerk,
House Bill 137, sponsored by Representative Nicholas.
first reading the bill.
Skill-Based Amusement Games Highway Fund.
Representative Nicholas, 2 minutes. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, after the prior vote, I don't think I'd bet on this one either, so I'd respectfully withdraw.
Without objection from the body, the bill has been withdrawn. Next bill for our consideration, House Bill 139. Reading clerk.
House Bill 139, sponsored by Representative Filer,
First reading of the bill.
exempting specified retail electric sales from regulation.
Representative Filer, 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move House Bill 139, ask for everybody's favorable consideration. Folks, one thing House Bill 139 does is Wyoming competes nationally for energy-intensive industries like manufacturing and mining operations. When these businesses can't get timely, reliable, and reasonably priced electricity, they close operations or relocate somewhere else. Another thing that this bill does is, or under this bill, is a certain large load customers would be allowed to enter into commercial contracts with non-utility generators to supply their power requirements. Those sophisticated entities would negotiate the terms of their arrangements without impacting the cost paid by existing residential and businesses, customers of the public utilities, raising the risk for stranded utility investment. So what this pretty much does, folks, is there's a lot of our industry here in Wyoming, especially down certain corridors as we go west, that are having a hard time being able to expand their operations. And it's because of utilities not being able to get to them in a timely manner. So sometimes they'll ask for a large load request, and then when all that comes through, that utility will probably say, well, we'll see in 5-10 years. What this will do is allow somebody to go with at least a minimum of 5 megawatts to self-generate and could sell up to 4 other customers within that area and also collect the same excise tax as any other utility. But what this does is allows those companies to be able to operate, expand, and keep moving forward instead of relocating. We have certain industries right now that are just dead stop and they cannot expand their operations at all because they're gonna be waiting forever on utilities. I think, did I make that under 2 minutes?
Yep.
Woo!
Very, very good. Anybody want to speak in opposition to this bill? 1 minute. If not, Representative Harrelson? Edging towards the, yeah, and yes, he's committed. 1 minute, Representative Harrelson, opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On and against this, I will say, I think the concept is a concept that needs a discussion. But the struggle that I have is the fact that this does erode our co-ops. The potential is there. I know there's language in there. I've seen that. I still have questions and struggles with this. Load that cannot be serviced by our co-ops is a concern. But at the end of the day, we need to be careful that we do not erode what we've built in this state. And so at this point, I'm on and against it.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Heiner, 1 minute, opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We've worked with this a lot in minerals over the past few years, essentially trying to create a sandbox and industrial area. But there's a lot of issues with certificated area, service area for our utilities. They invest a lot of money, a lot of time and effort because they are protected in that certificated area to be able to invest in their infrastructure. I'm a little bit concerned that this would step on some of these certificated areas and we would violate some of the agreements we made with these utilities tens of 100 years ago when they first came in and developed in co-ops, take away some of their efforts. But it's a great idea, but I think we need to work at this a little bit more in depth with sandbox and industrial area. But to be able to go out and capture other users may be crossing the line there. But just a thought I have.
Time, thank you. Representative Filer, 30 seconds for rebuttal.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman or Mr. Speaker. First off, exempt co-ops. Secondly, it also is only for a new request for power. So anybody that's already pulling power from that grid or that utility would not be pulled off, so it can't go back to the ratepayers. So that infrastructure is well taken care of. This is right now, our industries are strangled by the utility right now. They cannot grow. There's certain mines that cannot even expand because the utility will not get them the power within 5, 10, 15 years,
Time,
whatever.
thank you, Representative. Body, you're voting on House Bill 139, exempting specified retail electric sales from regulation. Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Allemand. Andrew. Angelos. Banks. Bear. Brady. Bratton. Brown, Gary. Brown, Landon. Byron. Campbell, Elisa. Campbell, Kevin. Chestick. Plouston. Connolly. Davis. Erickson.
So this is what is proposed to go to.
Bornstrom. Geringer. Guggenmoss. Haroldson. Harshman. Heiner. Heft. Jarvis. Johnson. Kelly. Excused. Knapp. Larson Lloyd. Larson JT. Lawley. Lean. Locke. Lucas. McCann. Nicholas. Ottman. Pendergraft. Posey. Provenza. Reagans. Rodriguez Williams. Schmid. Sherwood. Singh. Smith. Storer. Strock. Stivar. Tarver. Thayer. Washut. Wasserberger. Webb. Weber. Worf. Williams. Winter. Wiley. Yin. Mr. Speaker, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Harshman, no. To aye. Further changes? Further changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 31 aye, 30 no, 1 excused.
Having failed to receive affirmative vote of 2/3 of the elected members, House Bill 139 has failed introduction. Okay, we'll do one more, and then I believe we're going to need to be shutting down here to get ready to do final work here before we can head down. Or let's see, no, we're at 4:30. We're still good. Keep rolling. We're good. Yeah. Okay, next bill for consideration is House Bill 139. Reading clerk.
140.
Oh, 140, I'm sorry, 130. Yeah, 140, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
House Bill 140, sponsored by Representative Filer.
First reading of the bill.
Construction inspections, qualified third parties.
Representative Filer, 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move House Bill 140 and ask for everybody's favorable consideration. I'm trying over here now. Hopefully this helps. So what this is, a third-party inspection. If you have a building permit, a lot of times you have to wait on the municipality or the building department to come do inspections to keep your project going. But if you need to pour concrete on Monday and they can't get to you till Wednesday, well, it's going to put your project behind. So what this does is allow third-party inspections by a professional engineer licensed under Title 33, Chapter 29 of the Wyoming statutes, or a person certified by the International Code Council or a local enforcement authority who performs the building permit inspections, who meets additional qualification standards adopted by the local enforcement authority. This person has to, there's also protections in this bill that the licensed engineer or inspector cannot be part of your project. It has to be somebody totally separate. So if it was an engineer that helped build your plans, they cannot be the ones to do the inspections. Also, they have to uphold insurance liabilities by our statutes of the $1 million per claim and everything like that. But this is mainly it's Christmas time. The municipalities, as government workers, have a lot of days off, and we need construction projects to keep moving forward. So this just allows the developer to pay for their own third-party inspections, make sure that there's safeguards in here to where there's no conflict of interest to keep their projects moving forward. Did I get that under 2 minutes?
You did. Thank you, Representative. Anyone want to speak in opposition for 1 minute? Seeing no one rushing to the microphones, Representative Filer, you have 30 more seconds if you'd like to use them, sir.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Speaker. Yeah, and I don't need to beat a dead horse. I think everybody here knows what a third-party inspections, and most states already have them. We just don't. We depend on our building departments and municipalities to handle all of our building inspections in the state. So this just helps us keep keep going. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Representative. Members, you're voting on House Bill 140, Construction Inspections Qualified Third Parties. Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Allemand, Andrew, Angelos, Banks, Bear, Brady, Bratton, Brown Gary, Brown Landon, Byron, Campbell Elisa, Campbell Kevin, Chestick, Klauston, Connolly, Davis, Erickson, Filer, Bornstrom, Geringer, Guggenmoss, Haroldson, Harshman, Heiner, Heft, Jarvis, Johnson, Kelly, excused, Knapp, Larson Lloyd, Larson JT, Lawley, Lean, Locke, Lucas, McCann, Nicholas, Ottman, Pendergraft, Posey, Provenza, Riggins, Rodriguez Williams, Schmid, Sherwood, Singh, Smith, Storer, Strock, Stivar, Tarver, Thayer, Washut, Wasserberger, Webb, Weber, Worf, Williams, Winter, Wiley, Yin. Mr. Speaker,
Aye.
are there any changes? Allemand, no, to aye. Further changes? Further changes? Closing vote? Vote closed. 59 aye, 2 no, 1 excused.
Having received the affirmative vote of 2/3 of the elected members of the House, House Bill 140 has been passed in introduction and is assigned to Committee Number 7, Corporations. Next bill for our consideration, House Bill 142. Reading clerk.
House Bill 142, sponsored by Representative Jarvis.
First reading of the bill.
Literacy screening, assessment, and intervention.
Representative Jarvis, 2 minutes, please. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I move that House Bill 142 and ask for your favorable consideration.
Proceed.
This is a side bill to the current literacy bill that is going through the Education Committee right now. And typically, I would never do this, but full disclosure, I was on the select committee to draft that bill, and it was very rushed and has many things that really need addressed in order to be actionable. It's not quite ready, and it was introduced at the very last Education Committee and was pushed through really because of to honor the fact that literacy truly is absolutely imperative and important to our state. Why this is a little bit different is because it takes the current statute and it cleans it up. It moves K3 to K5 requirements with K-12 considerations. It increases teacher training without causing a teacher shortage. It's actionable to all agencies. I've worked with the different agencies to ensure that the timelines that are outlined on this are truly something that they can do and something that they can enact. It builds in parental rights, and the cost is significantly less than the current proposal. It also doesn't limit programmatic grant opportunities. Our current literacy scores in the last 5 years in our state have gone up. And so what we are doing is working, but this does further the mission and honor the literacy work in a way that really truly honors everyone involved.
Thank you, Representative. Any wanted to speak in opposition for 1 minute? Representative Andrew, 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On and against the bill, I think that the committee bill, which, I suppose is not what we're talking about, but I do want to defend that they had multiple in-person meetings. And I think that bill is ready, and I'd like to continue working that bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Any others for their first time? 1 minute. Seeing none, Back to the bringer, Representative Jarvis, 30 seconds, please.
I'd just like to urge the opportunity to just be able to present this to the committee and try to propose something that really, the other bill does have beautiful language in it, but it really will do a lot of harm if it's enacted, and it's not going to fulfill what it is designed to do.
Thank you, Representative. Body, you are voting on House Bill 142, Literacy Screening, Assessment, and Intervention. Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Allemand, Andrew, Angelos, Banks, Bear, Brady, Bratton, Brown, Gary, Brown, Landon, Byron, Campbell, Elisa, Campbell, Kevin, Chestick, Clouston, Connolly, Davis, Erickson, Filer, Bornstrom, Geringer, Guggenmoss, Haroldson, Harshman, Heiner, Heft, Jarvis, Johnson, Kelly, excused, Knapp, Larson Lloyd, Larson JT, Lawley, Lean, Locke, Lucas, McCann, Nicholas, Ottman, Pendergraft, Posey, Provenza, Riggins, Rodriguez Williams, Schmid, Sherwood, Singh, Smith, Storer, Strock, Stivar, Tarver, Thayer, Washut, Wasserberger, Webb, Weber, Worf, Williams, Winter, Wiley, Yin. Mr. Speaker, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 30 aye, 30 no, 2 excused.
Having failed to receive an affirmative vote of 2/3 of the elected members, House Bill number 142 has failed introduction. Next bill for our consideration, House Bill 143. Reading clerk.
House Bill 143, sponsored by Representative Ottman.
First reading of the bill.
Free speech for healthcare providers.
Representative Ottman, 2 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I move House Bill 143 and ask for your favorable consideration. This bill is to provide protection for our medical personnel. Over the last 5 years especially, we have seen where researchers that put out research are blackballed, they're fired and different things. We need in our healthcare deserts and different things, we need medical personnel. And when they are feeling as though they have no right to free speech in the services that they will provide or the recommendations that they might give to their patients, there's a problem and they're leaving. So I would just, I would ask for your favorable consideration on this bill. It's one that we've brought a couple times. And as we've seen the healthcare professionals decline here, it's not just about money. It's about freedom of speech. It's about being able to do no harm. I would ask for your favorable consideration.
Thank you, Representative. Any members would like to speak for 1 minute in opposition? Representative Yin, 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I do agree that there is some amount of speech required of our healthcare providers that is causing some of them to leave. And I would argue that came from the legislature. And it's come from the legislature from several bills. So I'm curious on how this bill will affect the speech that we require of them in different arenas when we force them to say certain things. For example, if someone requires a transvaginal ultrasound, or I have to tell you to wait 48 hours, how will this affect the free speech of those healthcare providers? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. Any other members for 1 minute opposition to this bill? Seeing none, Representative Ottman, 30 seconds for rebuttal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What this does is as far as requiring that, what was just mentioned, that is required for any OBGYN examination. What this does is this allows a podiatrist to go to school for podiatry. It helps OBGYNs to go for that and not be required to do an abortion in their training. It helps everybody to be able to say,
Time.
this is
Thank you, Representative. Body, you are voting on House Bill 143, free speech for healthcare providers. Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Allemand? Andrew? Angelos? Banks? Bear? Brady? Bratton? Brown Gary? Brown Landon? Byron? Campbell Elisa? Campbell Kevin? Chestick? Plouston? Connolly? Davis? Erickson? Filer? Hornstrom? Geringer? Guggenmoss? Haroldson? Harshman? Heiner? Heft? Jarvis? Johnson? Kelly, excused. Knapp? Larson Lloyd? Larson JT? Lawley? Lean? Locke? Lucas? McCann? Nicholas? Ottman? Pendergraft? Posey? Provenza? Riggins? Rodriguez Williams? Schmid? Sherwood? Singh? Smith? Storer? Strock? Stivar? Tarver? Thayer? Washut? Wasserberger? Webb? Weber? Worf? Williams? Winter? Wiley? Yin? Mr. Speaker. Are there any changes? Are there any changes? Larson, JT, no. To I. Fornstrom, no. To I. Plouston, no. To I. Thayer, no. To I. Yin, no. To I. Further changes? Further changes? Closing vote? Vote closed. 47 aye, 13 no, 2 excused.
Having received an affirmative vote of 2/3 of the collected members, House Bill 143 has passed introduction and will be assigned to Committee Number 10, Labor. Next bill for our consideration, House Bill 144, reading clerk.
House Bill 144, sponsored by Representative Campbell.
First reading of the bill.
Fire Protection Districts, mill levies, amendments.
Representative Campbell, 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move House Bill 144 and ask for your very favorable consideration. Our fire districts across Wyoming, including those from Natrona County that you met this morning, are the frontline responders to all hazard incidents that are often one of the first on the scene when our communities need help. These local districts directly serve and represent your constituents every day. House Bill 144 respects local control by giving the voters the ability to choose whether they want to increase the mill levy to better support their fire districts. As you all know, our special districts are supported, their revenue comes from property taxes. So you can imagine the hurt in our districts. This gives them, the local residents of that district, the ability to approve additional funding for their fire districts. I know there's been some questions about the cap that I put in. That was just to get us started. absolutely want to have those conversations to figure out what is the best number for that, but we have to get it on the floor. So please vote yes on this so we can have the conversation and do right by our fire districts.
Members, anyone want to speak in 1 minute in opposition to this bill? Seeing none, Representative Campbell, you good? All right. Members, you're voting on House Bill 144, Fire Protection Districts, Mill Levies Amendments. Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Allemand, Andrew, Angelos, Banks, Bear, Brady, Bratton, Brown Gary, Brown Landon, Byron, Campbell Elisa, Campbell Kevin, Chestick, Plouston, Connolly, Davis, Erickson, Filer, excused, Fornstrom, Geringer, Guggenmoss, Haroldson, Harshman, Heiner, Heft, Jarvis, Johnson, Kelly, excused, Knapp, Larson Lloyd, Larson Lloyd, Larson JT, Lawley, Lean, Locke, Lucas, McCann, Nicholas, Ottman, Pendergraft, Posey, Provenza, Riggins, Rodriguez-Williams, Schmid, Sherwood, Singh, Smith, Storer, Strock, Stivar, Tarver, Thayer, Washut, Wasserberger, Webb, Weber, Wharf, Williams, Winter, Wiley, Yin, Mr. Speaker. Are there any changes? Bratton, no, to aye. Larson Lloyd, excused to aye. Further changes? Further changes? Closing vote? Vote closed. 58 aye, 2 no, 2 excused.
Having received the affirmative vote of 2/3 of the elected members, House Bill 144 has been introduced and is assigned to Committee Number 7, Corporations. Next bill for our consideration is House Bill 145. Reading Clerk.
House Bill 145, sponsored by Representative Yin.
First reading of the bill.
Removing triple taxation for resident EV drivers.
Representative Yin, 2 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I move House Bill 145 and ask for your favorable consideration. Members, we're kind of in a tough spot here. In July, the department that takes care of our roads issued a memo to all folks who own EV charging stations in the state of Wyoming, saying that they're going to start taxing them under what's called the alternative fuel tax regime. This regime has never been used for EV charging stations. And what's happening is that the tax that's being charged is like 3 cents a month, and it's costing these EV charging stations more to even put in a meter, measure how much tax they have to pay, and then mail it in every single month than the tax that's being collected for every one of those stations. So what this does, in Wyoming, we charge $200 for every person that lives in Wyoming. We charge them now we charge them sales tax when they charge on a charging station, and we charge them this new alternative fuel tax every time they charge at a charging station. So we're taxing EV owners that are residents in Wyoming 3 different times. What we're not doing is doing a good job of charging the people that drive through the state, that use our roads the most, and that's where most of the EVs are. They're not from the residents, they're from the people that drive through the state of Wyoming. So what we do here is we fix it so we're charging the fast chargers, which are the ones that people who drive through the state use. We don't charge it on the level 2 chargers, so we make up that in the fast chargers. And then we also allow the resident EV drivers to get a refund when they charge and pay a tax on the level 3 chargers when they're driving through the state. So that makes an even playing ground for both the people that live here and drive an EV, but also a even playing ground with the residents for the people that drive through the state, which we have way more of that are using our roads right now and are not being charged. And so with that, I ask for your favorable consideration. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. Anyone want to speak against this measure for 1 minute? Seeing none, Representative? Okay, Representative Andrew, 1 minute. You, oh, he's your follow-up. Okay. Representative Andrew, 30-second. Please proceed.
All right, thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and for introduction of the bill, I first came into contact with this problem when I drove my electric vehicle to Casper for a committee meeting, booked the hotel that I usually stay at that has the EV chargers, and there was signs on all of them that said they had been removed by the management because Wyoming had started taxing their chargers. And this is starting to happen all over Wyoming. It's becoming more difficult to travel with an electric vehicle, and this bill will solve that problem.
Thank you, time. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are voting on House Bill 145, removing triple taxation for resident EV drivers. Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Elleman? No. Andrew? Angelos? Banks? Bear? Brady? Bratton? Brown Gary? Brown Landon? Byron? Campbell Elisa? Campbell Kevin? Chestick? Clouston? Connolly? Davis? Erickson? Filer? Excused. Fornstrom? Geringer?
Excused.
Guggenmoss? Haroldson? Harshman? Heiner? Heft? Jarvis? Johnson? Kelly? Excused. Knapp? Larson Lloyd? Larson JT? Lawley? Lean? Locke? Lucas? McCann? Nicholas? Ottman? Pendergraft? Posey? Provenza? Riggins? Rodriguez Williams? Schmid? Sherwood? Singh? Smith? Storer? Strock? Stivar? Tarver? Thayer? Washut? Wasserberger? Wasserberger?
Excused.
Webb? Weber? Worf? Williams? Winter? Wiley? Yin? Mr. Speaker,
Aye.
are there any changes? Are there any changes? Allemand? No to aye. Further changes? Worf? No to aye. Further changes? Further changes? Closing vote? Vote closed. 57 aye, 1 no, 4 excused.
Having received the affirmative vote of 2/3 of the elected members, House Bill 145 has been introduced and is assigned to Committee Number 8, Transportation. Next bill for, do you want to do one more?
Okay.
Let's do one more. House Bill 146, reading clerk.
House Bill 146, sponsored by Representative Storer.
First reading of the bill.
Affordable Electricity Act of 2026.
Representative Storer, 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move House Bill 146 and ask for your favorable consideration. A similar bill unanimously passed in the Beehive State to our west just last year and is being considered in 25 other states. As the need for electricity grows and the cost for electricity rises, this bill provides a way for individuals to augment their electricity power. It creates a new category of small portable plug-in solar devices that can legally connect to standard home outlets without traditional interconnection, paperwork, fees, or net metering enrollment, subject to clear safety and certification requirements.
The owner will not be paid for the electricity produced, and the maximum output is limited to 1,200 watts, a meter, essentially equivalent to a hairdryer. It enables low-cost, small-scale solar for renters, low-income households, and rural customers without full rooftop systems. Such systems reduce administrative burden on both customers and utilities by exempting truly small systems from interconnection processes and maintain safety and grid protection standards. It's a great way for Wyoming's hardworking families to reduce their electric bills as rates go up.
Thank you, Representative. Anyone would like to speak for 1 minute in opposition? Seeing no one, Representative, 30 seconds if you'd like to use it.
I'm good.
Thank you, Representative. Body, you are voting on House Bill 146, Affordable Electricity Act of 2526. Chief Clerk, call the roll.
Allemand, Andrew, Angelos, Banks, Bear, Brady, Bratton, Brown, Gary, Brown, Landon, Byron, Campbell, Elisa, Campbell, Kevin, Chestick, Plouston, Connolly, Davis, Erickson, Filer, excused. Oh, Filer, Bornstrom, Geringer, Guggenmoss, Haroldson, Harshman, Heiner, Heft, Jarvis, Johnson, Kelly, excused. Knapp, Larson Lloyd, Larson JT, Lawley, Lean, Locke, Lucas, McCann, Nicholas, Ottman, Pendergraft, Posey, Provenza, Riggins, Rodriguez Williams, Schmid, Sherwood, Singh, Smith,
Keep the chatter down, ladies and gentlemen.
Storer, Strock, Stivar, Tarver, Thayer, Washut, Wasserberger,
Excused.
Webb, Weber, Worf, Williams, Winter,
Winter?
Wiley, Yin. Mr. Speaker,
Aye.
are there any changes? Are there any changes? Andrew, no. To aye, further changes. Further changes. Closing vote. Vote closed. 55 aye, 5 no, 2 excused.
Having received the affirmative vote of 2/3 of the selected members of the House, House Bill 146 has passed introduction and is assigned to Committee Number 8, Transportation. All right, Mr. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House adjourn until tomorrow, February 12th, which is a Thursday at 10 a.m.
Okay. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Committee announcements or anything else? Nothing else? Okay, Canadian announcements. Vice Chairman Banks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Your committee number 5, Agriculture, will meet tomorrow in room 3 at 8 a.m. to go over the following bills: House Bill 87, House Bill 29, House Bill 61, and House Bill 90.
Representative Locke. Revenue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your committee number 3, Revenue, will meet tomorrow, 2/12 at 7:30 in the morning in meeting room 5. And we'll be going over 4 bills: House Bill 98, House Bill 75, House Bill 41, and House Bill 101. And we may resume on adjournment if we do not complete them. So thank you.
Representative,
Thank
you guys get it
Mr.
rassled
Speaker.
over? Representative Byron.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Travel, Recreation, Wildlife, and Cultural Resources Committee will meet upon noon recess tomorrow, February 12th, in Capital Extension E005 to discuss House Bill 15, House Bill 17, and House Bill 19.
Thank you, Representative Byron. Representative Brown. You've been,
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your committee number 8 will meet tomorrow upon noon recess to hear 4 bills: House Bill 26, House Bill 42, House Bill 67, and House Bill 69.
thank you, Representative Pendergraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good news bears repeating. Your committee number 2 appropriations will meet 7 a.m. tomorrow morning upstairs, room 301. We'll discuss House Bill 111, state-funded capital construction, House Bill 112, Riverton State Office Task Force sunset, House Bill 122, Wyoming Rural Health Transformation Program. Don't miss it.
Representative Washut, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just one reminder for those with short memories. Tyler Schwab will be talking tonight at 5:30 in the auditorium about human and sexual trafficking. It's a riveting story. I just encourage everyone to be there.
Okay, one moment here. We got a couple of standing committee reports, then I'll jump on that. Okay, no other committees announcements, standing committee reports.
House Bill 16, sponsored by Blockchain, Secretary of State expedited filings. An act related to administration of government. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 7, corporations, elections, and political subdivisions, to whom is referred House Bill 16, Secretary of State expedited filings. Respect the report, same back to the House with the recommendation that do pass with the following amendments. Ayes. Representatives Brown, Heft, Johnson, Knapp, Locke, Lucas, Webb, Weber, Yin. Representative Knapp, Chairman. House Bill 23, sponsored by Education. Participation in 6 through 12 activities, an act relating to public schools, co-curricular and extracurricular activities. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 4, Education, to whom is referred House Bill 23, participation in 6 through 12 activities. Respect the report, same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass with the following amendments. Ayes. Representatives Andrew, Bratton, Erickson, Gugemas, Kelly, Lawley, Singh, Strzok, Williams. Representative Andrew, Chairman. House Bill 24, sponsored by Education. Review of charter school applications, an act relating to review of charter school applications. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 4, Education, to whom is referred House Bill 24, review of charter school applications. Respect the report, same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes. Representatives Andrew, Bratton, Erickson, Gugemas, Kelly, Lawley, Singh, Strzok, Williams. Representative Andrew, Chairman. House Bill 25, sponsored by Education. Wyoming's Tomorrow Scholarship Program amendments, an act relating to Wyoming's Tomorrow Scholarship Program. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 4, Education, to whom is referred House Bill 25, Wyoming's Tomorrow Scholarship Program amendments. Respect the report, same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes. Representatives Andrew, Erickson, Gugemas, Kelly, Lawley, Singh, Strzok, Williams. Noes. Representative Bratton. Representative Andrew, Chairman. House Bill 52, sponsored by corporations. Election hand counting for recounts, an act relating to elections. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 7, corporations, elections, and political subdivisions, to whom is referred House Bill 52, election hand counting for recounts. Respect the report, same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes. Representatives Brown, Heft, Johnson, Knapp, Locke, Lucas, Webb, Weber. Noes. Representative Yin. Representative Knapp, Chairman. House Bill 83, sponsored by Management Audit. Legislative subpoena penalty, an act relating to the legislature. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 7, corporations, elections, and political subdivisions, to whom is referred House Bill 83, legislative subpoena penalty. Respectful report, same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes. Representatives Brown, Heft, Johnson, Knapp, Locke, Lucas, Webb, Weber, Yin. Representative Knapp, Chairman. House Bill 84, sponsored by Management Audit. Falsifying election documents, an act relating to election. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 7, corporations, elections, and political subdivisions, to whom is referred House Bill 84, falsifying election documents. Respectfully report, same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Representatives Brown, Heft, Johnson, Knapp, Locke, Lucas, Webb, Weber, Yin. Representative Knapp, Chairman.
We have two re-referrals. Chairman Knapp, committee number 7. Chairman Knapp, we have two re-referrals for your committee. Bill number 52 and bill number 116.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, committee corporations like to refer House Bill 16 to appropriations and House Bill 52 to appropriation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Byron.
Thank you for, Mr. Speaker. Quick privilege. Folks, tomorrow is camo at the Capitol. So if you have something cool in camo to wear, we'd love you to wear it. I know that Representative Provenza will be dressing to impress. So if you have that camo tie or that cool camo jacket, camo socks, please wear them. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Are there any other announcements? Hearing none, that clears the deck. You have heard the motion of the good majority floor leader. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye. All those opposed, no. Motion to adjourn is passed. We will meet back here at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let's all head down to the theater hall, whatever you call it, the amphitheater room, extension room, through the extension, down to the end, go through the double doors, and let's listen to this gentleman talk about human trafficking, please.